The whole ground trembled violently, and the angry guardian only chased 2 people. The guardian's strength is much higher than that of Lin Xiao, not to mention that he entered Lin Xiao's trap unprepared just now. Even if he reacts now, it is too late. Of course, the guardian would not let them reach the other side so smoothly. If so, he would have no face to call himself a guardian. Harry looked at him proudly. Anyway, we won today, and we will talk about the future. 99. He rushed towards Lin Xiao, and only when he was in front of him did he see a successful smile on the corner of Lin Xiao's mouth. After the start, the guardian found that if we didn't follow the routine, we would definitely become angry and attack. If his attack is invalid to me, he will definitely switch the target to attack you. At this time, I will use my clone to stop him. I guess even at that time, he won't really hurt us, so, as long as I use my clone to stop him, I will definitely be able to buy us some time. Looking at Lin Xiao who was holding the guardian, he couldn't help but fell to the ground in admiration for Lin Xiao's judgment. The guardian froze in place, looking at the seriousness in the eyes of the 2 people that had never been seen before, and an emotion that had never been seen before flowing in their hearts. Lin Xiao and Harry looked at each other, walked over to the guardian, looked at him, and said seriously, "Thank you, Lord Turtle." The guardian stared at the 2 of them angrily, and couldn't help but scolded, "You 2 cunning fellows, you better pray that you won't encounter me again later, or I will definitely show you how good I am." Harry immediately accelerated and rushed forward, while the guardian was entangled with Lin Xiao, looking at Harry who was getting faster and faster, with an ominous feeling. But at this time, Harry had already reached the opposite side, and Lin Xiao sat behind Harry and arrived with him. The guardian's pupils shrank suddenly. This guy dared to use a very immature space power. In the previous confrontation, he had never used it. When did he? The moment Xiaobai charged forward with the spell, he was also attacked, and it was none other than Lin Xiao who attacked him. When the guardian attacks Harry, Lin Xiao will save him, which will disrupt Lin Xiao's rhythm. However, the guardian was not able to get his wish, because Lin Xiao's figure had already rushed over. When he was about to attack, he stopped him immediately. What? When he saw the black and white rays of light, the guardian didn't care. In his opinion, for some attacks, he doesn't need to care at all. But soon, he realized something was wrong. As the light broke through his attack and got closer and closer to him, he could clearly feel that the air pressure around him became larger. The guardian shouldn't know that I can already use the clone. His first reaction was that I stopped him. But I couldn't pass the test, so he would entangle me in turn. At this time, if you speed up with all your strength, I will waiting for you near the finish line. He knows too well what kind of consequences the coercive attack will have once it has an effect. Especially this coercive attack suddenly issued by Lin Xiao did not cause any harm to him. Harry, who had been rushing forward, turned his head and glanced at the guardian at this time. But even so, the guardian did not retreat in the slightest. He turned around and walked towards Harry who was rushing forward. The guardian's face is quite bad, but this time, its speed is not only extremely fast, but also the power accumulated by the magic wand in its hand is powerful. However, this shock would make him dizzy for a short time, and even if only a little time, the 2 of them could break through its territory and reach the other side. In a blink of an eye, he made a decision, and he put all his attack targets on Lin Xiao. That's right, Lin Xiao released the space that was accidentally released for the first time, and released it again. 1 black and 1 white, 2 rays of light, went straight to the guardian. The 2 rays of light were planted well and passed through the middle of the light emitted by the guardian, only facing the guardian's face. Being too close to Lin Xiao, he felt the air pressure around him, which made him tremble. Under such air pressure, all his movements were affected, the speed became very slow, and the power was greatly reduced. With a soft sound, he saw that Lin Xiao also let out a muffled groan, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. P.S. Kneeling for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, automatic subscription, full booking. Coercion attack. Or a very strong coercion attack. The guardian instantly made a correct judgment. When facing Lin Xiao and Harry, although he was arrogant, he always had his own mind. Now is not the time to play, guarding the extremely rich combat experience, let him choose the most accurate attack position in the shortest time. Sorry for disappointing you. Lin Xiao looked at the guardian, but I don't think I will meet you again. 35. 1. Free. The guardian hummed twice, trying to scold, but was unable to scold. Looking at Lin Xiao and Harry who had passed through, a feeling of anger spread all over the guardian's body. There are conspiracies everywhere, he is completely higher than the strength of the 2 people, and he is completely unable to exert it. How could this feeling make him not angry? As soon as the coercion of the space was released, the marine creatures that were originally chasing were all suppressed, and none of them resisted. In fact, Lin Xiao had already prepared for the worst, but now they were able to rush to a position of about 200 meters, which was completely beyond Lin Zhao's calculations. For nearly 24 hours, the two of them spent almost all the time, 330s, in constant confrontation with the Guardian. Regarding the Guardian's strength, they didn't say they knew 10 points, but also 8 points. Under such circumstances, how could Lin Zhao have no other plans? What is he laughing at? As soon as this thought emerged from the Guardian's mind, he immediately realized that something was wrong. However, this time, the two people the Guardian faced were obviously different from before. The fact that Lin Zhao would free up space was something that he gradually found out in the confrontation with the Guardian. He only quietly told Harry that it would free up space. Both of them knew that it was almost impossible to pass the Guardian's blockade. Only by revealing this ability of oneself at a critical moment, and winning by surprise, can it be possible to catch the Guardian by surprise. Once Harry was hit, he was instantly incapacitated. It is impossible for Lin Zhao to give up on him, otherwise it would be impossible for him to reach the opposite side with his own strength. I don't care about you cunning people, I'm leaving. Now your trial really begins, be careful yourself. 35 Guardian's voice echoes in the air, but his figure has disappeared. Both Lin Zhao and Harry felt a sense of loss in their hearts. Although there is only one day and one night, it is said to be a trial, but in fact, the Guardian has been guiding them. Without the Guardians, they would never have been able to progress so quickly within 24 hours. For them, Guardians are true teachers and friends. So just now, thanks to the Guardians, they are serious. I didn't see you wrong. At this time, Zhang Jianguo, who was standing beside them and watched the entire confrontation, said aloud. The cooperation between the two of you has become more and more tacit. In a short period of time, you were able to come up with such a method, ingeniously cooperate with your companions, exert greater energy, and under the premise of no longer suffering any harm, breaking through the Guardian's line of defense. You are much more powerful than I thought. Zhang Jianguo looked at Lin Zhao and Harry. I mean what I say, you guys pass the defense line, I'll let you pass. It's meaningless if I don't fight with you. Next 07, you have to face Director Huang. He is good at exploiting people's hearts, and he is also a master of poison. He can't pass the level. You have to be mentally prepared. 35. After speaking, Zhang Jianguo turned and left in the opposite direction, with Lin Zhao and Harry following behind him. Half an hour later, the two of them followed Zhang Jianguo through the woods, around the outermost periphery of the China Wizarding Institute, and came to a yard full of plants. Zhang Jianguo took them out of the yard and stopped. Signaling them to look down, Lin Zhao and Harry walked to the side. When they saw everything in front of them, their hearts couldn't help being deeply shocked. What appeared in front of them turned out to be a huge valley. Lin Zhao and Harry recognized at a glance that this was a valley that had been forcibly split out by some kind of force. The yin and yang sides of this valley were filled with all kinds of plants, or poisons. Of course, these weren't the things that surprised them the most. Although the valley is magical, they are not completely unseen. What really surprised them was the air in the valley. I don't know why, the air in this valley is full of all kinds of colors, and it looks icy, but it is also extremely dangerous. A gust of wind blows, even if it is a very calm wind, once it enters this valley, it will immediately turn into a gust of wind, setting off a roar. This kind of power to change natural phenomena made both of them feel like a chill. At this moment, they felt how insignificant they were under such power. This is Director Huang's trial for you. Zhang Jianguo looked at the valley and said, this valley was built by Director Huang, and it is also a blockade of the China Wizard Institute. All the plants in this place, including the air here, are poisonous, and even Lord Divine Turtle would never dare to set foot here. 5. This is one of the rare forbidden places for Chinese wizards. Do you know how this valley was formed? Lin Zhao hesitated. Isn't it corroded by poison? You guessed half right. This valley originally didn't exist. Later, the poison planted by Director Huang corroded the ground and slowly formed a kernel. Later, Director Huang simply corroded this place. Valley. You will have the opportunity to try it yourself next. Because the rocks in this valley are eroded by poisons all the year round, not only are they highly poisonous, but the rocks in this ancient city are very smooth, but they are also hard as iron and extremely dense. Large. The weight of the same volume is almost comparable to that of steel. Lin Zhao and Harry both had an ominous feeling, the trial that Director Huang mentioned, it won't be. Just as he opened his mouth, Zhang Jianguo slowly raised his hands, and in an instant, in the center of the valley, there was a deafening sound. Then in the valley, two pillars rose slowly, and they rose very fast, so the two of them also noticed. This is the content of your trial this time. Zhang Jianguo said to them, Director Huang is under the valley, and there is no time limit, but your task is to follow these two pillars to the bottom of the valley and find the director Huang, got the magic wand in his hand. In this valley, the air is poisonous. If you feel unwell after going down, you can ask for help. I will pull you up and wait for you to recover before going down. The two of them finally understood Director Huang's trial, and even said that they wanted them to go out alive in the valley full of poison. Then let's try it first. Harry, let's not force it, there is still time. Lin Xiao said to Harry. Since they came here, they had no other choice, especially after Lin Xiao knew about the existence of the tree man, the trial, they had to complete it anyway. The two picked up their wands, flew into the air, and then slammed down, and the doctor landed on a post. As soon as he climbed up the pillar, Lin Xiao only felt his whole body tighten, and his muscles began to stiffen. Slowly, he even began to lose consciousness. His whole body was unconsciously attached to the pillar. Harry's situation was exactly the same as Lin Xiao. Immediately afterwards, an inexplicable pressure also filled the hearts of Lin Xiao and Harry. At this time, most of their physical strength had been eliminated when they fought against the Guardian. Looking at the space where the visibility was less than 3 meters, the two of them were somewhat nervous. After they were attached to the pillar, the two found that the pillar was not smooth. When they hugged the pillar tightly, their bodies would not automatically slide down due to gravity. Only there were many bumps and potholes on the table. 330 Wa, if they want to reach the bottom, they can only rely on their physical strength to slide down little by little. However, the air is still full of poison. Just as the two were about to go down, a huge heat rushed towards their faces. Lin Xiao only felt like a heat wave hit him with a monstrous aura. With the heat of poisonous gas, it slapped heavily on the two people's bodies, making them both feel a strange feeling in their hearts. It is not the impact of the waves in the imagination, but the feeling of suffocation. They had a few seconds of dizziness and suffocation when the heat wave came over them, and when the heat wave subsided, they were back to normal. Lin Xiao and Harry looked at each other. Could it be that Director Huang's trial was so simple? Although this is poisonous, judging from the current perception, it only makes them dizzy, and it will soon return to normal. Both of them were a little puzzled, but soon, they both realized how wrong their thinking just now was. Heat waves are not like ocean waves, they have a clear sense of pressure, and they are not like pressure ladders that make it difficult for them to move. But the heat wave they have to face is a continuous impact. This situation became more and more obvious. When the two went further down, they even found that when they were under the impact of the heat wave every day, they gradually stopped suffering, and they could open the pores of the whole body and feel comfortable. Of course, this invigoration soon became more painful as they went further down. When the numbness disappeared, the pain like a bone-piercing mantra instantly swept through their whole bodies, causing them to feel unbearable pain. This pain went out for 2 hours before it disappeared. The two rested, and after a while, they started again. Their life was better than death, and the trial was unbearable. Of course, it was Harry who was more miserable living together. The two people can see the bottom now, but there is still some distance from going down to the bottom. Every time, Lin Xiao would try his best to push his limits, and after he completely fainted, Zhang Jinguo pulled him up. It was like a spell. When charging towards him, his entire body maintained the same speed as this impact force, quietly dissolving this force. P.S. Kneeling for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, automatic subscription, full booking. Before they knew it, they had been here for 2 days, and Zhang Jinguo was sitting on the top of the mountain, and when he saw that they couldn't hold on, or he fainted, he pulled them up. They spend every moment in excruciating pain, but this excruciating pain is also the power to further stimulate their potential. In this way, the power of the spell on him will be greatly reduced. You guessed right. Zhang Jinguo looked at the changes in the two people's bodies, and then said, there are poisons in the air, but when you are on the pillar, your body is always changing. After experiencing various spells, you go down again and again, and your body forms muscle memory, which will automatically remove the power of the spell. In this way, you will not be very passive when facing some advanced magicians. It went down again and again like this, and after 4 or 5 hours, the two of them were finally able to stay on the pillar for half an hour. But soon, they found that under the impact of the heat wave, their bodies could gradually feel the fluctuation of the heat wave in the air, and the body could find its own breathing rhythm in the poison. It was only after they succeeded this time that they deeply understood that the seemingly simple poison trial, don't defeat the director, it is much more painful to pass through the Guardian's blockade. To defeat Li Gui and Director Lin, they used cleverness, and they used strategy to pass through the Guardian, but in this trial of Director Huang, they had no opportunistic methods. Although, like other trials, their perseverance was tested to a greater extent, but the terrifying level of this trial was a difficulty they had never encountered before. After the 3rd day passed, both bodies had undergone great changes. When Harry was inadvertently moving his body, he was suddenly surprised to find that he didn't need a wand at all, and he didn't need to cast spells at all, and he could cast several spells at the same time. Moreover, when Lin Xiao confronted Harry, Lin Xiao didn't have to utter a spell, Harry's body had already voluntarily avoided. After a dozen or so heat waves, they could no longer bear it in less than 20 seconds. Because this kind of suffocation is different from the kind of suffocation that is different from holding your breath in the water. The suffocation under the impact of the heat wave will make their body gradually lose consciousness. From the body, mind, and even blood vessels, will lose consciousness. On the first try, let's not go on, they couldn't even move on the pillar. Although, before each start, Lin Xiao used the Phoenix Dagger to transmit energy to him, but every time he went down, it made him feel unbearable pain. However, now every time, as long as they don't faint completely, they will grit their teeth and insist. In the end, the two of them persisted, but within a minute, the two of them remained in their original positions. But at this time, Lin Xiao also found a problem. Here, his magic and the power of space, all can't move. There will be no receding heat wave. When the first wave of heat hits them, they will temporarily suffocate. When they have not fully recovered, the second heat wave will strike again, and the two times will be superimposed on each other, and the effect will be doubled. The feeling of suffocation makes them feel that every second of being here is painful. After listening to Zhang Jianguo's words, Lin Xiao and Harry both felt that the hardships had come to an end. The two were no longer obsessed with completing the trial, but subconsciously increased their control over the poison. This natural reaction of the body is like a skill given to him by the spell, and the same is true for attacking spells. At this time, even Lin Xiao, who had always been calm, complained about the trial officer, Director Huang, when he was in pain. This monster is really perverted. Every time he goes down, the kind of torment he endures is like falling into hell and being hammered in hell. The spiritual strength is enhanced, and the body forms resistance to spells. There is no doubt that this is the ability they have acquired in this valley. But, let alone down to the bottom, they haven't even seen the bottom of the valley until now. Zhang Jianguo sat on the top of the mountain and watched them quietly. From this moment on, Lin Xiao and Harry will suffer without any skill. This heat wave is like a sorcerer, standing in front of them, constantly using the piercing spell on them. Every time a spell is used, they suffer. But even so, Harry persevered. Two people can only take 1 minute from the beginning, to the next 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I lost consciousness from the very beginning when I climbed up the pillar, and then I can slowly take a step or two down. This means that they have no other assistance, and can only rely on the function of the body, going down little by little, and finally reaching the bottom. For Lin Xiao and Harry, these two pillars are like crosses, tying their hands and feet. These heat waves are like torture by the enemy, and their mission is to be in the enemy's ubiquitous blockade and without in the severe punishment. He found a way to escape, and took over with his companions. For the first time, even Lin Xiao, who was extremely mentally powerful, only lasted for a minute before fainting and his body was completely numb. After he and Harry were pulled up by Zhang Jianguo in turn, they completely collapsed to the ground, unable to move. Another 2 days passed, he was clinging to the pillar, and he went down little by little. Good. When the heat wave hit, he didn't need to bounce back with a spell, and he could clearly feel that his body was completing a spell to unload the force. Process. Lin Xiao heard a moment of frustration. However, he quickly cheered up. He vaguely felt that he had opened a special door, but what was behind this door, he had to continue to explore later. In this valley, there is only this place without fog, and a place without fog means that it will not be hit by a heat wave. Lin Xiao explained briefly. This shows that Lin Xiao's mental power and body's breathing rhythm are getting stronger and stronger, and he has not yet reached the level of Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao was in front, Harry followed behind Lin Xiao. The two came to a place, and stopped at the only place where flowers bloomed in the valley. Yes, now you only need to concentrate your mind, you can feel my presence, and you can communicate with me. Of course, this kind of communication only exists among wizards with quite strong spiritual power, apt. For some wizards, especially used to probe the spiritual world of other people, if you don't want others to know, you can use mental power to block your brain, so that no one can detect your thoughts. At this moment, he was about to faint from suffocation. The moment they spoke, Harry had also reached the ground, which was different from Lin Xiao's epiphany. Harry's face was very bad, and he was obviously still under the impact of poison. The shock force of suffocation disappeared, his senses multiplied 330 times, and every flower, water drop, and air in the valley appeared in his mind and became a part of his body. At this time, it was already their 5th day here, and Lin Xiao and Harry once again clawed at the pillar. How did you know this place? Harry asked while looking at Lin Xiao. At this time, he heard a strange voice, "Congratulations, although I don't know what happened to you, I can be sure that your spiritual power has risen to the same level as mine." Harry came over, and looked at Lin Xiao nervously. "Are you alright? You just jumped down like that, which startled me." Lin Xiao opened his eyes and didn't see anyone. He was in a trance for a moment. Because he can be sure that the sound he heard just now did not come from its surroundings, but from his mind. Is this ventriloquism? But Harry found out before that, Lin Xiao could feel the breathing rhythm of his body, and even knew what he was thinking. Many things he didn't say and was about to say, Lin Xiao could always know one step ahead. Then, Lin Xiao felt his body and slowly fell to the ground where he was standing. Lin Xiao shook his head, he looked at Harry's increasingly pale face, closed his eyes, saw the surrounding environment, and found that there was only one place that was not covered by fog. Everything in the valley was in his mind, and he seemed to have completely turned into air. He opened his hands and let his body fall with the wind. Lin Xiao couldn't help but mentally communicate with Director Huang. "Are you really at the bottom of the valley? He's not good yet." As if feeling Lin Xiao's thoughts, the voice said, "His soul has always been missing a piece, which determines the upper limit of his spiritual power, which will not be much stronger than that of ordinary people. It is necessary to probe the spirit of others. The world, at least, is a complete soul. But once they persisted, it would also be of considerable benefit to their strength. Do you use mental power to block your brain?" Lin Xiao leaned his head on the rock behind him, looked up at the sky, and said thoughtfully, "The only time we saw Director Huang, he was covered in black mist and couldn't see his face clearly. Both of them have now reached the bottom of the valley, but they have searched around the bottom of the mountain, but they have never found Director Huang's figure." As he approached the flowers, Harry instantly felt that the suffocation on his body disappeared, followed by the smoothness of the whole body, as if the two veins of Ren and Du were opened, which was extremely smooth and comfortable. Under such training, Zhou Yu's magical power is no longer a power that exists alone in their bodies, but is integrated into their meridians, body, even spirit and soul. This kind of training method is undoubtedly thrilling. Without strong perseverance and considerable strength, it is absolutely impossible to persevere under such training. Lin Xiao released his spiritual power and let his body slowly descend under repeated shocks. Harry sat down and asked himself while recovering his strength, "You said, where is Director Huang? We have searched the valley and haven't seen him." Harry nodded without speaking. He could feel the difference between his body and Lin Xiao's. In the last 2 days, Lin Xiao's body has obviously changed a lot, and Lin Xiao himself may not have noticed it. Lin Xiao shook his head and said to him, "Pay attention to saving your stamina, we still have to find Director Huang. It's hard to get down, and we'll find him as soon as possible." Lin Xiao looked at Harry who was close to touching the ground not far away. Wasn't that what he needed? Slowly, they even have a habit, this kind of pain is unbearable. Don't feel this way with them, even when there is no heat wave attack, you are consciously resisting, allowing their bodies to recover in the shortest possible time. Lin Xiao was choked, stopped, and rolled his eyes speechlessly. "Because like you, I have long since been integrated with this valley." Director Huang said, "If you want to find me like this, it is impossible. Don't forget, in this valley, I am the one in control." Seeing Lin Xiao stop, Harry asked suspiciously, "What's wrong? Do you know where he is?" "I'm here." 35. At this point, Lin Xiao was also a little puzzled, and shook his head, "I don't know. However, he must be at the foot of the mountain, there is no doubt about that. P.S. Kneeling for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, automatic subscription, full booking." He said to Harry, "You can't go on like this, we have to find a place that is temporarily free of poisonous smog and let you rest." He changed from an outsider in the valley to a fusion of the valley, and slowly became the controller of the valley. Every element in the mountains is under his control. "Why have we rummaged through the bottom of the valley and haven't seen you yet?" Lin Xiao couldn't help but complain. The two went down skillfully, and soon the heat wave rushed over. Feeling the body changing with the impact of the heat wave, Lin Xiao closed his eyes and gradually let his mind go. At this time, he was no longer an entity, but the valley. The mist in the valley merges with the valley. Harry nodded, but didn't refuse, his body was already reaching its limit just by getting down. Now he is struggling with perseverance, just worried that if he finds Director Huang, Lin Xiao will not be able to handle it alone. Lin Xiao is standing in the valley. Harry shouted again, "Okay, don't shave, I've been shaved for 2 days, and people are almost shaved off. If you don't take human form, I'll take everything out of your place." "How do you know you're not human?" Lin Xiao continued, "The easiest way, because when we first got here, we've already rummaged through the place. And, I'm pretty sure, there's no invisibility cloak here. Use." Lin Xiao nodded with a smile. I think your idea is good. Let's just rest here while looking for Director Huang. When our state is almost adjusted, we will go to the next mission. To take revenge, for him at the moment, he must be able to understand his own abilities. Lin Xiao knew that none of the trials he faced in the future were easy, and it was not easy to pass in the shortest possible time. Especially the Li Ningning and the Phoenix Perch tree that he has to face in the end. Before going to see Director Huang, both of them went to the yin and yang sides of the valley to find some things they needed. Then two people stood in the middle of the valley, in the middle of the two pillars they had been raking. No way, Lin Xiao, I need to rest first. Harry collapsed on the ground. In fact, his body was not very tired, but his mind had reached the limit. Moreover, in the past 2 days, both of them knew where Director Huang, who had never been seen before, was. As soon as these words came out, Harry stared at him with wide eyes. How do you know that Director Huang won't attack us? Fortunately, Director Huang didn't really want to care about them, just a small punishment and a big admonition. The whole body was in a large shape, and it was just paralyzed on the ground. 0. Every time at this time, he squatted on the ground and begged for mercy. I was wrong, I was really careless. 9. Lin Xiao looked at Harry and said, I don't think there is any danger here, and Director Huang won't attack us anyway, so let's just rest here. Harry smiled. There are 9 tests in total. We still have the administrator, Director Li, and 2 other managers who have not met so far. Finally, we will face the Phoenix resting tree. I think, if it is safe here, we might as well rest here for a little longer, and then find Director Huang, and the remaining 4 directors will work together to solve all the problems. What do you think? I estimate that Director Huang is the only one out of all the directors who has no requirements for us. Lin Xiao thought and said, so, in the China Wizarding Institute, there is a high probability that there is a place to rest, except for our bedroom. It's only here. Harry could feel this kind of change in himself. Over the past few days, both he and Lin Xiao have felt different degrees. Although the pain was unbearable these few days, the benefits were huge. Half a month has passed, and the torment they endured both physically and mentally is about to reach a critical value. 4 flowers. Lin Xiao looked at him and wanted to laugh a little. It was the first time he saw Harry in such a troubled state since he met Harry. You didn't find that Director Huang's trial was the most difficult we have encountered so far, but it was also the most obtained trial. I guess Director Huang never wanted to fight against us from the very beginning. To him, it was like we came to take his exam, he gave the questions, and we answered. He only cares about whether we can hand in the grades, and it won't kill us. Although he has not met Director Huang yet, Lin Xiao's sense of this Director Huang, who has never been seen before, is much better than the others. He has an inexplicable confidence. If they are here rest, Director Huang will secretly protect their safety. On the birthday encouragement to rest for 2 days, the 2 of them relax in different ways. Relying on the presence of Director Huang's shield, Harry visited both the positive and negative sides of the valley in the past 2 days. He accidentally damaged some plants, and every time this time, Harry could feel a strong wind that was about to blow him away. P.S. Kneeling for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, automatic subscription, full order. Factory. Lin Xiao shouted loudly, Director Huang, do you still want to meet us? If you don't come out, we will leave. But if he did it again, he would definitely not be willing. Harry slumped beside him, not saying a word. He had no energy to think now. In the past few days, Harlem has lost a lot of weight. The originally fair skin has turned into a healthy wheat color, and the hair is messy, looking like a savage. However, his eyes were much sharper than before. Harry smiled and said, it's great, it's been a long time since there has been a formal confrontation, and now we can finally fight for real. It must feel very good. A gust of wind blew, and no one answered them. These 2 days, Lin Xiao and Harry can be said to have undergone a complete adjustment, but what surprised both of them was that although there was no confrontation these 2 days, their physical changes continued, as if it was because of them the previously tense body and spirit are relaxed, which is more conducive to their improvement. How do you know? And the adjustment of these 2 days has brought them back to their best state, both physically and mentally. After 2 more days of adjustment, both of them decided to continue to complete the trial. But it is also true that almost half a month has passed since the day they arrived at the China Wizarding Institute. In the past half month, each of them has changed a lot, but in the past half month, they have also endured a lot of inhuman suffering. In just half a month, they have endured even more than they have endured in Hogwarts for a few years. Then there is only one result: you are not human. Lin Xiao sat in the valley without moving, and went into a closed state. He knew that the opponents he faced in the future were all very powerful, and every trial content in the future would not necessarily be easier than it is now. In order to be able to leave the China Wizarding Institute as soon as possible and take revenge as soon as possible, he did not dare to slack off for a moment. Moreover, in the previous confrontation with the Guardian, he had to be familiar with the power of space that he had unintentionally discovered, and the coercive attack that space carried. Why does he only have to hide his face? Lin Xiao murmured. And now for the two of them, the most important thing is to adjust the state. Lin Xiao also faintly felt that the trial of the Phoenix Resting Tree was to understand his strength, and the confrontation with the Phoenix Resting Tree directly determined whether he could take revenge. Moreover, one thing is certain, Shuren's strength must be above Li Ningning and Phoenix Resting Tree, otherwise it would not have been solved by now. Director Huang stood in front of them. Let's get to know you again. I am the Poison Wizard of the China Wizard Institute, Huang Lu. You guessed it right, I am not a human being. I used to be just a soul eater in the sea next to the China Wizard Institute. Later, after Director Li came here, he became the director of poison here. Do you know why they rarely come to the island? Because they have few natural enemies in the ocean, their power in the ocean is much stronger than on land. And because of their nature, even if they don't need to fight later at times, they will also find ways to kill. Any creature that passes in front of them will be rudely destroyed. Harry couldn't help but say, no matter how they dominate, our mission will always be accomplished. Director Huang looked at them and said, how did you know? Harry's voice fell, and another gust of wind blew, and after a while, the two pillars slowly shrunk, and finally became a person's two legs, a figure, jumped from the ground, and drilled up. What exactly are they? Lin Xiao asked. So, anyone who knows my identity should know it. Harry's face was pale, and he was speechless for a moment. Lin Xiao nodded, then said, so that's the case, then Director Huang, besides you, there are other people like you, who used to be a beast, but is now the director. Lin Xiao scratched his head embarrassingly. Then we have to think, if you are not human, could it be something in this mountain? I have ruined this mountain in the past 2 days. Although you are angry, you have never appeared. Does this still explain the problem? Lin Xiao looked at him and said, but we still have to face it. Tell us about him. Director Huang looked at him and smiled, and then said, you want to ask those two directors who have never been seen before. Director Huang looked at them and said, first, those who want to know my identity will either become a director or be killed in the trial of becoming a director. To be a director, as a colleague, it's to know who I am, and if I die, it doesn't matter if they know who I am. If you never show up, then in turn you're always by our side, then there's nothing else but these two pillars. Harry finished, patted the pillar that gritted his teeth at him before, and said, we all know, you can come out quickly. It's over, we have to go to the next stop, don't waste our time. Are you ready to face him? Director Huang looked at them and said, the big white whales are not so easy to deal with, they won't talk like me, they are the most ferocious guys in the sea, in addition to the big white whale king will shock them, in the entire ocean, they are all kings and hegemony. So that's what happened, Lin Xiao said, looking at Director Huang, as a soul eater, you are the director here, aren't you afraid of being known? Harry gasped, so exaggerated. Then we. Turning over in the air, Huang Suo grows out. It's okay to tell you, anyway, they are in the same situation as me. After you know it, you will either become your own or die. 95 Director Huang first threatened them, and then said, you guessed right, they both are beasts. However, they are different from me. They rarely come to the island and are usually in the sea. They are the first line of defense of the China Wizarding Institute. Except for the director of the Wizarding Institute, almost no one will know their identities. So, if you think about it in reverse, it's very simple. This is not an exam at all. From the very beginning, it was you who were trying with us. Lin Xiao looked at him and said, I am also in these 2 days, you have always been right, we only thought of it when we were not hostile. You did not attack us, there is only one explanation, we have completed the trial with you, and we will find you later, which is the test question. Harry looked at the face that was softer than him, and instantly understood why Director Huang covered his face with black mist. Such a face was too inoffensive. Beluga whales have always existed in the form of whales, and very few will be transformed into human form. Because in their eyes, whales are the most noble form in the world, they have a strong body, their weapons are their teeth, and the white whale other skills learned from Li Ningning and Phoenix Resting Tree. Last time, Beluga and Li Ningning and Phoenix Resting Tree faced each other, and Beluga was tied with them. 35. Director Huang nodded, as expected of the Son of Heaven and the Son of Change. Sure enough, it's excellent. Because our trial was with Director Huang, Lin Xiao said, it was very strange at the beginning, Zhang Jianguo tried with us because he was the guardian wizard of the China Wizard Institute, and he asked the guardian to fight against us, in fact, it is reasonable. However, during our trial with you, you did not show up throughout the whole process, as if you were only giving us a test. This is very strange, isn't it? Director Huang glanced at him wickedly. Why, are you afraid? If you are afraid, you can tell me, and I can tell Director Li that you won't go. 35. So in the ocean, they have few opponents. Of course, no humans dare to go up and challenge them. Harry rolled his eyes at him angrily. You think I'm stupid? 99. More than that, the white whale is a gregarious creature, and you are facing a group, but it is very likely that the white whale will think that a group of whales is bullying you, and it is not necessarily the case that he is the only one. He was still wearing the black robe that 330s wore when they first met. The difference was that this time, both of them saw his face. The black mist on his face dissipated, and Director Huang's delicate face was revealed. P.S. Kneeling for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, automatic subscription, full booking. Then how are we going to find him? Harry asked. Harry swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, so 1. 3 said, if we want to complete the trial, we can only beat him. The next thing you will face is Director Guan, the white whale not far from the island. Director Huang looked at them and said, as you guessed before, your mission is to defeat the white whale. It's a real battle, and the white whale will not be caught by you like Li Guiren, nor will it be like Director Lin, who is the first formidable enemy you will encounter in the true sense of the China wizard. 35. Director Huang glanced at him and continued, besides, because of natural reasons, if you fight against him, you will either win him or die. This guy is very ruthless and will never leave alive. As long as he has the upper hand, he will shred his opponents in various ways. After a while, under the command of Director Huang, Big Bird brought Lin Xiao and Harry to a stop 30 or 40 kilometers away from the white whale. Harry nodded, the two of them put on the invisibility cloak, and jumped down 1 depth. Actually, there is no plan, just use the invisibility cloak to help us reach the beluga's territory, although I don't expect to poison him directly, but if you don't try it first, how will you know what to do later? We are only capable of him now. There is a general prediction that it is not a bad thing to try them with poison first. The white whale and his clansmen are the first marine defense line of the Chinese wizards. When there is an enemy attack, they are always at the forefront. Originally, the tribe of the white whale has always been in the thousands, but, after so many years, they are only around 300. They never mind dying on any battlefield, I just want to reduce casualties as much as possible. Lin Xiao couldn't help shaking his head when Harry looked like he was facing a great enemy. He didn't blame Director Huang for teasing him. If it wasn't for the fact that he was also a client, he also wanted to tease him. Both Lin Xiao and Harry stood up and grabbed the feathers on the big bird. Director Huang looked at them and said, Lin Xiao, Harry, I know what you have to go through is the 9 tests, otherwise, it will never be such a trial. However, I still have a request, if you really have the ability to kill the white whale, please be merciful. Lin Xiao and Harry nodded and said to the big bird, can you sense the location of the white whale? Take us to the sky above the white whale first. It seemed that it was only a few breaths of time, and the speed of the big bird slowed down and finally stopped. Lin Xiao and Harry knew that the white whale was in the sea below them. Harry rolled his eyes at him. At this moment, what else could he worry about, besides being killed by a white whale and dying young, what else could he worry about? Lin Xiao looked at Director Huang and said, Harry is right, we have no way out. In other words, when we came to the China Wizarding Institute, we had no way out. You treat us as cowardly, and you will pay for it. It's the price of life. I don't want to die yet, I still have things I want to do. 5. Director Huang didn't speak any more, patted the giant bird's head, and instantly flew into the air. After seeing Director Huang, he lowered his head. Director Huang jumped on top of it, and said to the 2 teenagers who were still stunned under 07, come up, it will take you, hurry up. Harry's eyes lit up, how? Harry was a little stunned by the side, didn't keep up with Lin Xiao's rhythm. He asked, are you trying to poison the white whale? What kind of poison do you have? Also, you must be careful, don't we get to him yet, it was discovered by him. Director Huang showed admiration. Although beluga whales are powerful, they are also marine creatures in the final analysis, and their bodies themselves have no resistance to poison. However, how strong their bodies are, how strong their own immunity is, ordinary poisons don't work against them. And, if you use poison and they find out, the beluga will only become more brutal. 35. Lin Xiao said, it looks like it's just below, the big bird can't go down, so we dive down from here, put on the invisibility cloak and try to hold our breath. The big white whale should be able to feel the breathing fluctuations. 330 Director Huang smiled and patted the big bird on the head. The big bird seemed to have already sensed it and nodded. Soon, they saw the ocean. Looking at the upcoming battlefield, Lin Zhao's brain didn't stop thinking for a moment, he was thinking about tactics. Lin Zhao looked at Director Huang and asked, Director Huang, is the white whale afraid of poison? Thank you. Lin Zhao and Harry said. Director Huang got down from the big bird. He stood on the sea like walking on flat ground, looking at Lin Zhao and Harry, then I wish you a successful return. Neither Harry nor Lin Zhao said a word, and Director Huang asked, Harry, what are you worried about? You're stupid, Lin Zhao said, looking at him, there's no way to walk straight over with poison, of course it's better to do it quietly. Lin Zhao smiled lightly, as long as the poison is useful to them, I thought that all creatures, like you, have cultivated to the point where they are immune to poison. Director Huang looked at Lin Zhao with bright eyes, as expected of you, Lin Zhao. Now that you are ready, I will send you over. Lin Zhao smiled slightly, you may have forgotten, you have one thing. He can't see us. P.S. Kneeling for flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, automatic subscription, all bookings. Lin Zhao looked at Director Huang, we still need a mount, your big bird, can you borrow it from us? However, at this time Lin Zhao was not in the mood, he looked at Harry and said, I think of a way that might help us defeat him. Harry said angrily, you think I'm stupid. I'm not willing to go, but if I don't go, you can kill me here. Besides, Moby Dick, you and we both fought, who's saying we can't win against Moby Dick? Then what can you do to get close to him without being discovered by the white whale? Harry asked, now we are going to his territory. If he is so powerful, if there is any trouble nearby, they will find out as soon as possible, right? If you are not killed by the white whale, he will always answer you. Director Huang looked at Lin Zhao and Harry and said. Lin Zhao nodded, and Harry's eyes lit up instantly, tell me about your plans. It can only be outwitted. If it is true as Director Huang said just now, the white whales and the others have always been the kings of the ocean, then the powerful people usually have a common problem, that is, arrogance. Not to mention face-to-face, she and Harry have almost no chance of winning, even if they win, I'm afraid that the two of them will be almost useless. There is simply no energy to carry out the next trial, since this is the case, then we can only think of other ways. Invisibility cloak? Harry asked uncertainly. The big bird spread its wings and flew in one direction. Harry nodded, if that's the case, then we won't delay here, let's go. While speaking, Director Huang turned around and blew a whistle. The whistle was small at first, but as the strong wind blew, the sound became louder and louder. When the sound reached their ears, a huge bird landed in front of them. There is no doubt that the beluga whale is extremely powerful. Director Huang may have just made a suggestion, but the problem they are facing now is, can they really deal with it, even if it is a big white whale? But judging from the strength of both sides, they have no chance of winning. Lin Zhao was shocked and nodded solemnly. Lin Zhao and Harry saw that the beluga king's body suddenly stretched out, and then, the whole body quickly turned upside down, like crazy. Lin Zhao and Harry looked terrified, and the two immediately slid away from the sea. But the two always paid attention to the condition of the great Moby Dick. The poison of Ling Shuang melted immediately upon contact with the skin, and the moment it reached the body of the white whale, it immediately volatilized into his body. Lin Zhao closed his eyes and started to probe, almost instantly, he saw the figure of the white whale. No wonder Director Huang always said that the strong body of the white whale is one of the nirvanas they are proud of. Among this group of beluga whales, one of them is half the size of the other beluga whales. On his white body, there is a golden mark that looks like a crown in the human royal family. Needless to say, this is the white whale king they are going to challenge. The great beluga is a creature that is extremely sensitive to blood. The smell of fresh blood boils the entire great beluga group. For a time, the entire sea area becomes restless, and all the creatures in this sea exude a terrifying aura. I only saw that the white whale king kept rolling, as if experiencing unbearable pain, and the two white whales that were close to it wanted to check his situation, but he was directly bitten to death by him. In an instant, the sea area was dyed red by the blood of the two great white whales. The two white whales really made the whole group of white whales tense, and all their white whales entered a state of battle. After aiming at the white whale king, Lin Zhao threw the phoenix dagger directly. The phoenix dagger seemed to have vitality in an instant, and it rushed towards the white whale king at an ultra-fast speed. Let's go up now, but we must move slowly, try not to let the water sway. Lin Zhao said to Harry. This white whale looks more than twice the size of a normal whale, and they look full of power, white overall, and a particularly large head. When they opened their mouths, Lin Zhao saw the sharp teeth they hid in their mouths. The eyes of the great white shark looked fierce and unusual, full of murderous aura. Around them, except for the white whale, there are no marine creatures, and it is conceivable how powerful they are. Harry, look up. Lin Xiao looked up with Harry. He believed that the Beluga King must have received the fact that there will be a trial person very early, and the Beluga group has no other opponents in this sea area. At this time, the White Whale King was injured. As long as he thought about it a little, he could only guess that it was the hand of the tester. He is not dead, Lin Xiao said, but if he doesn't make a sound, he will die soon. The Beluga King didn't struggle for too long, and his flipping gradually became smaller and smaller. After biting his companion, he hardly flipped again. Ling Xuan didn't let him die, but he only left his last breath. Moreover, what was even worse was that he didn't dare to rush up right now. He was waiting for the White Whale King to express his opinion. Lin Xiao ultrasonically opened the wooden bottles one by one, poured Ling Xuan into the Phoenix Dagger, and quickly closed the bottle cap. Aiming the Phoenix Dagger at the White Whale King, this series of movements, fast and light, did not cause any wave fluctuations. Lin Xiao took out a wooden bottle from his own space. The bottle was in the ocean, but it was not wet. In this bottle, there is the most poisonous thing in the world, Ling Xuan. These belugas swam freely in their range, apparently confident that no marine life would intrude into their territory. Lin Xiao was waiting, he was waiting for the Moby Dick King to announce that their trial had passed, and only then would he dare to go up. At this time, Lin Xiao and Harry had reached the deep sea about 300 meters, and the beluga whale was less than 100 meters above them. Closing his eyes, Lin Xiao imagined that his body was a part of the deep sea and merged with the sea. Harry was used to Lin Xiao's ability. Lin Xiao's spiritual power is far above him. But what he didn't know was that Lin Xiao had not only released his own spiritual power, but had also been able to briefly probe into the spiritual power of others. Especially to explore those spiritual powers, which are not as good as their own. Lin Xiao was also very anxious in his heart, although he promised Director Huang, try not to kill him, try not to cause casualties, good, but apart from Ling Xuan, he can't think of any other way for the time being. Beluga whales are the kings of the ocean. What they are most proud of is their strong body and various nirvana skills. In terms of mental power, their control is far inferior to Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao and Harry looked at their comfortable appearance and guessed that the white whale should be taking a lunch break this time, and many of them were floating motionless, as if they were resting. Otherwise, even if the White Whale King died under Ling Xuan, he would not be able to go up. Lin Xiao also came to China's Sorcerer's Club, and when he read the information, he realized that the poison of Ling Xuan was born in the Tree of Phoenix Rest. If his guess is correct, this Ling Xuan is still the escaped tree person, refining, a very sinister and vicious person. The poison that he cultivates will only be more sinister and vicious. Beluga whales are gregarious animals, and their actions are mainly gregarious, but Lin Xiao was able to find the great white whale they were about to challenge almost in an instant. With the invisibility cloak, the only thing two people worry about in the sea is breathing problems, but fortunately, in the trials that the two people have endured in Director Huang, the time they hold their breath is similar to that of ordinary sea creatures, so just be careful. Not being noticed is not a big problem. The two of them dived slowly, very quickly, but because of the two pressure trials and the trials by Director Huang, their bodies had already adapted to any coercion. Hidden in the invisibility cloak, the two slowly searched for the figure of the white whale. With a click, the Phoenix Dagger hit the white whale's tail. Under such circumstances, the two of them quietly walked in the direction of the white whale. Both Lin Xiao and Harry were still very nervous. Grave accent, Lin Xiao, is the Moby Dick King dead? Harry looked at him in disbelief, but didn't Director Huang just tell us not to kill him? 99. Although the Phoenix Dagger is sharp and tough, the shell of the beluga whale is also exceptionally tough. Under normal circumstances, it is absolutely impossible for the Phoenix Dagger to cut through the skin of the beluga whale. However, Lin Xiao released coercion when the Phoenix Dagger was about to reach the body of the white whale, and with the assistance of the coercion, the Phoenix Dagger inserted straight into the tail of the big white whale. Harry nodded and started upstream. Soon, they came to a place about 100 meters away from the group of white whales, and the two stopped again. But Lin Xiao didn't move immediately. He looked at the expression of the Beluga King and could feel that the Beluga King did not admit them. At this time, all the white whales gathered on the sea, and the eyes of the White Whale King became blood red, full of murderous terrifying aura. He roared at the sponge, and in an instant, countless white whales with sharp teeth were surrounded by him. What are we going to do now? Harry asked, looking at the beluga whales. They are on the verge of collapse now. If we don't go up, the Beluga King will die. But if we go up, they won't surrender and die. It's us, 5. However, Lin Xiao's eyes kept looking at the big White Whale King, and the big White Whale King's breathing was almost stagnant, but he still did not admit them. The entire white whale group was already in a state of panic and fatigue at this time. Big White panicked, roaring again and again in the sea, setting off huge waves after another, trying to use this method to kill Lin Xiao and Harry. The two were forced out. After 2 or 3 rounds, there were already 4 or 5 of the same species in the Beluga group, which were accidentally injured by the Beluga King. And until now, they have never found an enemy who secretly attacked them, which is a huge blow to them, especially to their arrogant psychology. This time, all the white whales started frantically searching for Lin Xiao and Harry hiding in the sea without the need for another order from the Beluga King. They tried hard to find any clues, but Lin Xiao and Harry, who were just below them at this time, at a distance of more than 100 meters, were also looking at them contradictingly. The exploration of the Beluga group lasted for nearly half an hour. During this period, the Beluga King had less gas in and more gas out. Even if they are the overlords of the ocean, facing this situation, they are helpless. Apart from trying their best to find the two of them, there is absolutely no other way. Lin Xiao never went up to give the Beluga King an antidote, not only waiting for the Beluga King, but also for the reaction of the Beluga group, abt. The enemy hidden in the dark, the White Whale King who attacks indiscriminately at any time, will cause their panic, and at the same time will kill their will. No matter how powerful the Beluga whales are, their energy and vitality are limited. Immediately, the atmosphere of the entire group of white whales became solemn. As kings in the sea, they never feared any enemy, but they never thought that one day their leader would attack them. An angry roar came out from the mouth of the Beluga King again and again, and the sound of the rolling waves made the entire sea tremble. Immediately afterwards, the same roar sounded from the mouths of other beluga whales, the same sound peeled off, forming a powerful energy that almost completely churned the sea around them. When they were resting, Lin Xiao would attack again with the Phoenix Dagger, making the White Whale King go crazy again, and letting the whole atmosphere of terror spread among the group of white whales. Lin Xiao's eyes were always on the big white whale, because he knew very well that he was the one who made the final decision. Lin Xiao stopped him, and Harry, who wanted to go up, said, "Wait a minute, let's make sure he really admits it. Or is he just trying to lure us out?" The sense of panic intensified on the heads of every white whale. Look at his reaction this time. 35 Lin Xiao looked at the White Whale King not far away and said. Harry's expression changed a bit, but Lin Xiao still had the same calm expression as always. Maybe the White Whale King is also betting that he will not kill it just because of a trial. Lin Xiao took the Phoenix Dagger out of the Beluga King's body and replaced it with another ordinary white whale. This time, Lin Xiao's attack became a little unscrupulous. He was indiscriminately attacking all the great white whales, so that all the great white whales had to run away. Lin Xiao and Harry used invisibility cloaks to hide extremely secretly. Judging from their current inspection route, even if they turned the whole ocean over, they would not be able to find them. After rolling again and again, the Beluga King finally compromised. He recalled all the great white whales and made a voice into the sea, "Who is it? Come out. I know you are testers, and I now announce that your test pass." For the White Whale King, this blow is undoubtedly huge. Lin Xiao pondered for a while, then said, "Let's hold our ground for now. As long as we don't move, they won't find us. Wait a second, they won't make fun of the 330 lives of the Beluga King." Therefore, the beluga whales just wasted their physical strength in vain. Now the Beluga King is undoubtedly the most vulnerable, and the Beluga group has formed a protective circle around him, enclosing him in the center. Lin Xiao looked around. "We are hiding in the invisibility cloak and keep quiet, but the Beluga King is in danger of life. He must be more anxious than us. We are now comparing who can last longer." However, from their roars, Lin Xiao knew that they were not surrendering. And they couldn't have any complaints, because the Beluga King suffered more than they did. The group of white whales obviously began to show impetuous emotions. They can't find an enemy to hurt them now. The inexplicable madness of the White Whale King also makes them feel afraid. Lin Xiao and Harry both watched this scene nervously. They didn't understand the language of the white whale, and they didn't know what they were communicating with. However, obviously, they still underestimated the arrogance of the Beluga King. He would rather endure the poison of Ling Shuang than declare that the two people passed the trial. And all the big white whales have already moved, and they seem to be looking for the two of them. With the issuance of the order, the entire Beluga group moved from the formation surrounding the Beluga King to behind the great Beluga King. But there was no gain for half an hour. No matter how angry the White Whale King was, he had to recall the group of white whales. He finally said that. Harry said excitedly to Lin Xiao. Their actions this time can be said to be perfect. However, Lin Xiao didn't have a clue in his heart. If the Beluga King is as proud as he is now and never declares that they have passed the trial, he really doesn't know what to do. Is it really possible to take risks? Lin Xiao and Harry were shocked by the strength of the White Whale King, but the more it was like this, the less they could show up. At the moment when they stopped searching, the Beluga King suddenly became crazy. Although the clansmen around him responded quickly and moved away in an instant, one of them was accidentally injured by him. Lin Xiao had no choice but to step forward and say, "Sorry, even if you want to find trouble with Li Ningning, you have to find yourself alive. If you don't detoxify, you will lose your life." 39. After detoxifying the big white whale, the two of them summoned the big bird who had been waiting for them above, and now the big bird returned to the China Wizarding Institute. Lin Xiao looked at them indifferently. "Yes, it's us. We are the testers of the 9 exams of the China Wizard Institute this time. I'm sorry, but I had to get hurt a little with your clan. You are really too strong. If you don't to do so, I have no other way." 35. Stop. The Beluga King said angrily, "As the director of China's Wizarding Institute, I announce that you have passed the test." When he closed his eyes to observe himself, Big Bird had already brought them to stand in front of Director Huang. Watching the two return victoriously, Director Huang was sincerely happy for them. With a roar, a strong but weak voice came from his body. "Are you poisoning us?" One can imagine how difficult it is to use the power of the Phoenix Perching Tree to defeat the Phoenix Perching Tree on the chassis of the Phoenix Perching Tree. Lin Xiao and Harry nodded to him, and they were also very pleasantly surprised to defeat the Beluga King. After all, he was the king of the sea, but, now, they seemed to have felt the pressure next. King Moby Dick saw the two of them. "Ah." Lin Xiao shook his head. "I'm afraid it's not as simple as you think. Don't forget, what we're going to face next is not only a wizard, but also a Phoenix Perching Tree that has survived for thousands of years. You won't forget, the strength we rely on every time now comes from him. Then what are you waiting for?" Moby Dick roared at them both. When he saw the Beluga King, Lin Xiao realized that Ling Shuang's influence on the Beluga King was not as big as he thought. The reason why he finally admitted it was because he used Ling Shuang to hurt his clan, otherwise it just hurt the big white whale. They want to get through this time, it's just a dream. Lin Xiao said angrily, "If it wasn't for Ling Shuang, how could we have completed the trial so easily? Also, if you didn't want to embarrass us, do you think White Whale King would let us pass so easily? You have to promise us first that after detoxifying you, you can't hunt us down. You are the king of kings in the sea, and what you say must have prestige." Lin Xiao hesitated and said, in other words. We just have no other way to do this. The strength of the white whales is too terrifying. We can't face you face to face." "Flowers. We're sorry for hurting you and your clan. If you have any dissatisfaction, you can go to Li Ningning who finds out the content of this trial. After we detoxify you, if you want a reward, just go to her." "Can." Lin Xiao laughed embarrassingly, then took out the antidote and detoxified them. 0. Director Huang shook his head. "Of course not. However, I can be your sparring partner. Don't forget, I am more familiar than you with the people you will face next. In theory, you can treat me as an opponent and practice against me." And this time, although there was no change in defeating the Beluga King, he found another surprise in himself, that is, the number of his clones increased. So much nonsense. The Beluga King said angrily, "I don't want to look for her. Do I still come to look for you two young boys? I am the dignified Beluga King anyway, and I still have this reputation. In this way, you may be more confident." Looking at the sky, Lin Xiao closed his eyes, and his spiritual power was completely concentrated on him. Lin Xiao once again felt the changes in his body after he came to China's Sorcerers Club. Director Huang looked at them and said, "The next few people, do you need my help?" Lin Xiao looked at Director Huang suspiciously. "Do you mean to help us go to the trial?" Lin Xiao was now on Big Bird's back, looking at the sea below without saying a word. But the two of them can't take care of that much now. If they don't detoxify the White Whale King, he will really die. Courageous and resourceful, without hurting yourself or hurting others, you have won the Moby Dick King. Lin Xiao, Harry, you have created the miracle of the China Wizarding Institute. Hearing Lin Xiao's words, Harry's expression changed instantly. Indeed, the power they relied on each time before was the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree, completely ignoring the fact that the Phoenix Resting Tree itself was also one of their goals. Don't be so pessimistic, we all still have time. Although there is still a big gap between our strength and them, I think we have made great progress now. Going step by step, we still have a lot of progress. Opportunity. Hearing the White Whale King say these words, Lin Xiao and Harry both have serious eyes. It seems that the relationship between the White Whale King and the China Wizard Institute is not what they imagined. Before today, he could only have a dozen clones at most, but now, probably because of the enhancement of his spiritual power, there is no maximum limit on the number of clones, and each clone can play 90% of his own strength. It is equivalent to him having countless Lin Xiaos as backing. Hearing these words, Lin Xiao and Harry looked at each other, and they chased in the direction of the White Whale King with the fastest speed. China Wizarding Institute. Humph. Over the years, if it wasn't for me and my clan, the China Wizarding Institute would have been destroyed long ago. I don't know how many times, this time, 2 testers have come to hurt us. Get it back from them. I'm thinking, one of our next opponents is a ferocious beast like the White Whale, and then we have to face Li Ningning and the manager, as well as the Phoenix Perching Tree. The strength of the White Whale is already so strong, I don't know if we will be as lucky as this time, and we will all be able to catch a way to suppress them. Lin Xiao looked at him and said, it's useless to think about it now, we still have time, go back and think about it. Now, let's go back to rest first. In fact, it is an antidote, but it is just the Phoenix Dagger that transmits energy to them. The poison of Lingshuang comes from the Phoenix Resting Tree, and the Phoenix Dagger escapes and the Phoenix Resting Tree, and the poison is also an antidote. Harry said in disbelief, we just finished a task like this. This time, compared to the previous ones, it's simply not too easy. When they reached the sea, both of them took off their invisibility cloaks. Harry looked at him and asked, we just passed another trial, why don't you look happy at all? What are you thinking? Director Han obviously saw their 2 plans. Well, in the confrontation with you, you can use all your skills, I will not rely on the Phoenix Perch Tree, but will only use my own skills to fight against you. Lin Xiao looked in his direction, withdrew the spell he was about to cast, looked at him and said, why don't you fight? Immediately afterwards, a series of explosions erupted between the 2 of them. The cracks spread rapidly, and after 3 breaths, a loud explosion sounded beside Director Huang. Director Huang broke free in time, tumbled in the sea, and instantly accelerated away from the 2. Director Huang and Lin Xiao Harry agreed that tomorrow he would come to the China Wizard Institute to accompany them in their trials, and after giving the 2 of them a good rest, they flew away with the big bird. Kindness to the enemy is cruelty to oneself. Behind Lin Xiao and Harry, there are 2 more people and the Phoenix Perch Tree to pass. Lin Xiao directly used the attack spell. I won't fight, I won't fight, I won't fight you 2 monsters. Director Huang's dissatisfied voice came from afar. Their time is running out. Harry looked at him and spit out 2 words, perverted. Director Huang said angrily, I really don't know what kind of monsters you 2 are, but in just a few days, you have made such great progress. And the Phoenix Dagger in your hand can just restrain my power, although your strength is still can't compare to me, but this Phoenix is so annoying. Can't you use something else? It turned out to be the 2 of you. Finally, there are 2 people who are of a little level from the China Wizarding Institute. You are coming to play against me today, but are you ready? Director Hai took out his magic wand, and a golden light from the magic wand radiated into the sky, illuminating the still unclear dawn. Then, a layer of armor appeared on Mr. Hai's body, which looked extremely hard. That suit of armor is like a shield covering Director Hai's body, and it has defense power against all spells. Director Huang said with a bit of decadence, I admit that you 2 are perverts, okay? I really don't know where they were dug up. You 2 monsters, in just a few days, sleepless, like a sponge, keep going. You can still improve so much. I deeply think that you can complete your tasks. Although I have practiced with you for a short time, with your perverted level, you want to defeat Director Yang and Director Li. It's not impossible. I won't accompany you to practice. If you continue to practice, it will hurt your self-esteem too much. Lin Xiao looked at Harry and touched his nose. I didn't mean to annoy him and leave, he wanted to leave by himself. My idea is that we are all going to fight against them next, and we'll just go all out and fight to the end without stopping. Harry looked at Lin Xiao and said, although it's a bit risky, we don't have much time right now. Already. Lin Xiao nodded and said, yes, we are ready. I think so too, so let's just decide. Today we'll go back for a day off and have a trial tomorrow. Lin Xiao and Harry coincided, so they didn't say anything more. However, as the director of the China Wizarding Institute, Director Hai naturally would not be defeated so easily, nor did he become flustered by these voices. He chanted the incantation gently, waved his wand up and down, and saw that his body instantly merged with the armor on his body. He abruptly blocked Lin Xiao's spell from the outside, and instantly minimized the impact of Lin Xiao's spell on him. Thank you. Lin Xiao looked at him and said, he knew very well that Director Hai was showing mercy to them. Soon, Lin Xiao and Harry returned to the island. After such a time, they realized how good it felt to be down to earth. With a swipe of 330s, a red light was instantly thrown from Lin Zhao's wand, and an extremely strong roar erupted in the air. Director Huang's figure gradually rose and rushed out in reverse. The next day, on the bottomless ocean, a strong figure rolled in the air, and behind him were two figures quietly adjusting their bodies. Seeing that Director Huang was about to be caught up by the two of them, and then Director Huang dodged and set them in place. The next morning, to the surprise of the two of them, Director Hai did not attack them, but moved in the opposite direction, a little further away from them. Lin Xiao and Harry nodded, then said, "Yes, I'm here to challenge you today. I've offended you, Director." Lin Xiao looked at Director Huang's dejected look, and then said, "Okay, I won't ask you to practice in the future. In fact, you don't have to be disappointed. You didn't lose to us, but to your natural enemy." Lin Xiao smiled and said to him, "Director Huang, during the battle between the two sides, of course we must choose the most effective way." Looking at Director Huang's terrifying speed, Lin Xiao sighed inwardly. Director Huang's strength is really not to be underestimated. They are just practicing now. If they were fighting for life and death just now, how could he and Harry be his opponents? It was just dawn, and Lin Xiao and Harry arrived at their familiar battleground last night. When they arrived at the battlefield, Director Hai was already waiting for them on the battlefield. It seemed that he felt the arrival of two people, and Director Hai slowly opened his eyes. They fought with Director Huang here for several days, and they had less than 10 days left until the end of the month, but they still had to face Director Hai, an administrator, and Li Ningning. And finally the phoenix perching tree. Lin Xiao and Harry stood on the island, with clear water and clear waves, and passed another trial. Both of them are in a good mood. Even if every opponent will be more powerful than before, they have already experienced so much. Build full confidence. Lin Xiao and Harry immediately chased after him, blocking Director Hai's path. Director Hai instantly felt his whole body go cold, but Lin Xiao and Harry in front of him had disappeared, and around him, there seemed to be countless screams of 1, 3 screams, and cold killing intent gathered towards him from all directions. "Come." Director Hai looked at them and asked. When his eyes fell on Lin Xiao, he paused a little. "Bah." Director Huang said depressedly, "Let's go, I won't practice with you." As soon as the words fell, Director Huang's figure had disappeared in front of them. As soon as the words fell, Lin Xiao and Harry flew into the air, heading towards Director Hai. "Oh, it's all right." Lin Xiao touched his head and changed the subject. "Let's quickly think about how to pass the trial." Director also looked at the two people who fell in front of him. "Are you ready?" The energy can be resisted, but Director Hai obviously did not expect that the two of them would simultaneously cast a stun spell at this time and hit the attack directly. As the director of the China Wizarding Institute, he naturally did not want to admit defeat, let alone just lose. Another light emanated from the wand, and the fingers of the wand crossed his chest and palms down. Without the protection of the armor, it was a bit of a disadvantage for him. But what surprised him happened again. His attack was actually absorbed by green lights. In desperation, Director Hai had no choice but to put away his armor and no longer contact the green light. At the same time, he made another attack. This time, he attacked directly above it. The front and rear pinch attack made Director Hai's attack to the strongest level. Even if it was a defensive cover, it could only withstand his full blow. Lin Xiao and Harry's expressions suddenly changed. Is this the strength of Director Hai? What a powerful force. This blow is no less than Dumbledore's flame spell. Director Hai was able to deliver such a powerful blow when he was completely suppressed by Lin Xiao and Harry. These two rays of light are the most basic stun spells. The physical defense of stun spells is invalid. Once hit by the spell, no matter how powerful one is, they will be forced to stun for 3 seconds. Immediately afterwards, another red light chased after it, quietly flowing in along the gap of the black light, and the black 330 light disappeared more quickly. But this red light did not stop after encountering the black light, and continued to move towards the body of Director Hai, colliding with the green light behind Director Hai. What kind of spell is this? He had never seen such a spell before. Director Hai felt the crisis, and he knew that if this continued, the rhythm of the battle would be controlled by Lin Xiao and Harry. If you can't control the rhythm of the battle, you will definitely lose. Lin Xiao and Harry could see that the surrounding air was rapidly squeezing, and even the sea water not far away from them had been released from the company and was surging violently. At this moment, the figures of Lin Xiao and Harry appeared. Under the attack of Director Hai, the expressions of the two of them were a little painful, but this little coercion was nothing to them. After all, the pressure field they have experienced is 100 times stronger than this. With a snap, the red light swept across, and the black light surrounding Director Hai stopped emitting. The next moment, a huge gap appeared in the middle of all the black light. Director Hai took out his magic wand for defense, but it was useless. When he saw Lin Xiao, there was a layer of defense around his body. Unlike his armor, it was a defense that isolated space. Director Hai did not hesitate, and the incantation flew towards the two of them. All he has to do now is to use his strength higher than Lin Xiao and Harry to launch his strongest attack. The stun spell made Director Hai unable to control his thoughts, and could no longer concentrate his strength to cast the spell. Feeling that the protective power of the armor is disappearing, Director Hai can't help but be surprised. These two people are only in their teens, do they already have such great power? Or is this the talent of Jiu Kao? The most powerful blow from the director of a China Wizard Institute was just cracked by two people. The most terrifying thing is that what defeats this last blow is nothing but the lowest level spell, dizziness. At this time, Director Hai's attack power was almost destroyed by the two of them. In addition, the forced operation effect took effect, and all that was brought to Director Hai was destruction. At this moment, the shrill sound around Director Hai disappeared, replaced by a hypnotic sound. At the moment when the two voices switched, Director Hai caught the figures of Lin Xiao and Harry. He took a step forward and directly moved towards, and the two rushed over. At this moment, a black circle of light, with him as the center, rapidly expanded to the surroundings, forming a circle of black curtains, surrounding him in the center. When the incantation was uttered, a huge wave of energy surged wildly, and the surrounding air distorted violently. The black light was just the blow that Director Hai had done with all his strength. As long as this power was broken, Director Hai would definitely be defeated. Lin Xiao and Harry resisted this blow abruptly, but the two of them had already planned. Of course, Director Hai's attack was extremely effective. As the director of the China Wizarding Institute, his strength is far above Lin Xiao and Harry. In the face of their choice of such a direct collision, he will officially give full play to his advantages. Even if he does not have the protection of the armor, he still has a strong strength here. Lin Xiao and Harry waved the wands in their hands at the same time, and behind Director Hai, two rays of light went towards Director Hai at the same time, just like the front and back attacks just now. He couldn't see the figures of the two people, but there would naturally be holes in the air. He tried his best to deliver such a powerful blow, indiscriminate attack, as all the elements, so no matter where they were, they would not feel good. However, the two of them were already prepared for this attack by Director Hai. Therefore, there was no panic at all, and there was no intention of dodging, so Ian deeply suffered the terrifying blow from Director Hai. Just when he was surprised, Lin Xiao and Harry, the two figures had disappeared in front of him again. At the same time, in the surroundings of Director Hai, green lights rose from the ground, and Director Hai recognized that this was Harry and cast a spell. However, upon closer inspection, the two rays of light are still different. One is towards the Director of the Sea, and the other is towards the black light of the Director of the Sea. His thoughts are actually very simple, and he understands very well, Lin Xiao and Harry, haven't they been hiding all the time? Well, I will take all the surrounding air as the target of attack, and at the same time, blend the surrounding air with it. 1. Go attack them both. Amidst the loud bang, Lin Xiao and Harry's figures remained motionless, and after the explosion, the defensive cover that had shrouded them had disappeared. The attack was ineffective. Director Hai was shocked when he saw this scene. He couldn't help but wonder, what kind of defensive power is this? Of course he knows how strong his attack is, but how can he attack without any effect? A series of explosions sounded in the air, and the air seemed to be under tremendous pressure. Just on the back of Lin Zhao's defense force, as soon as it reached the golden color, it condensed into a huge axe in the air, and only aimed at the backs of the two of them, forming a front and back attack with Director Hai in front. At first, he didn't care, but when the green lights landed on his armor, he was shocked. Quiza's protective power was rapidly passing under the action of this green light. At this time, Harry stood behind the administrator and launched an attack at the same time as Lin Xiao, because Lin Zhao's coercion did not affect Harry, and Harry's actions were much lighter than the administrator who was affected by the coercion. After speaking, Director Hai looked at the two people. The next few people will be more difficult, I hope you must be more careful. You still have system defense power on you. Although that system has no attack power, it can indeed generate power. It has a deterrent power to many people. Of course, his deterrent power is not only to people. 99. Harry and Lin Xiao side by side, not only took out his wand, but also flew into the air immediately. Lin Xiao and Harry are not incompetent either. In the face of such an attack, they did not withdraw from the attacking state. While attacking, they entered defensive measures. Ha! Lin Xiao roared, his eyes burst with anger, and a protective shield suddenly appeared around his body. Lin Xiao directly released the system, creating coercion. At this time, Lin Zhao's physical condition had reached its peak, and the strength was blatantly released. It seemed that their battle with Director Hai only took a short time, but in fact the energy they consumed, especially Lin Xiao, was quite huge. It is easier said than done to defeat the director of a China Wizarding Institute, Lin Xiao also understands. They knew early on that Director Hai would only fight with all his strength, but not with all his might, otherwise they wouldn't be able to win so easily. Director, let it go. Lin Xiao and Harry bowed to Director Hai and said. A shield appeared in front of them at the same time. The harsh sound of impact sounded continuously, and a series of sparks were sent out under the collision of the spear and the shield. Lin Xiao and Harry froze and took a few steps back. However, the administrator was also knocked to the ground and hit a pillar not far behind to stabilize his body and ears. The next one is the real battle. Lin Xiao and Harry looked at each other. Let's go. In the final dizziness process, the strength of one or two people, if they wanted to kill him at that time, they could do it, but he was not attacked by the next attack. Obviously Lin Xiao and Harry showed mercy to him. Even if he still has the strength to fight, there is no reason to entangle him. Half an hour later, they came to the administrator's battle arena. Looking around, this battlefield is similar to that of Director Hai, but the shape is slightly different. The spear in his hand changed back to a long sword, flashing light, a layer of blood surged on his face, and it returned to stability after a few breaths. These three attacks were accurate and fast, and what shocked Lin Xiao and Harry even more was that the three attacks had their own icy coldness, and before the attack arrived, they had already felt the piercing coldness. The administrator was already floating when Lin Xiao released his coercion, but when he felt the breath coming from Lin Xiao, his eyes couldn't help showing a hint of surprise. With a muffled sound, Director Hai's mouth was full of blood, even bloodshot eyes, nose, ears, and eyes. The whole person stepped back several steps and hit a pillar directly before stabilizing his body. If they weren't in a hurry to complete the task, Lin Xiao wouldn't even let this Director Hai get hurt. The two turned around and left, found an open space at will, sat down to rest, and regained their energy. Director Hai raised his hand and said to the two people, "Here I am, you win." Obviously, this first attack, it was Lin, Good, Xiao and Harry, who had the upper hand. Winning, they defeated the director of a Chinese Wizarding Institute, really by strength. No matter how mature their minds were, Lin Xiao and Harry couldn't help feeling excited at this time. This was the first time they had defeated the director of a China Wizarding Institute without any support. Although this victory may be attributed to their unexpected skills, there is no doubt that they defeated him by their own strength, without any unexpected assistance. The entire field was not very big, with a diameter of only about 20 meters, and Lin Xiao's coercion had already occupied most of the field. Almost instantly, a black light emanated from Lin Xiao's wand, and a sharp blade appeared above the administrator's head. Looking at the deep meaning in Director Hai's eyes, Lin Xiao instantly understood and said gratefully, "Thank you for the pointer." In the center of the clearing, there was a pillar, and a man sat down next to him under the pillar. It was still the familiar look they had before, with his eyes closed. Although the years had left many marks on his face, he could still see that the administrator was an outstandingly beautiful man when he was young. Lin Xiao and Harry stood in front of Director Hai and did not continue to attack. Lin Xiao, with his mental power, can detect the physical condition of Director Hai. Director Hai, from the beginning, did not kill them, and the director, Lin Xiao and Harry, naturally would not fall into the trap. There is indeed a big gap between the strengths of the two sides, but from the very beginning, Lin Xiao's full strength was completely unleashed, and there was Harry behind him, who attacked from the side. From the beginning, the administrator was just a test, and did not burst out with all his power. Director Hai, quietly pressing down the churning of qi and blood in his heart, stood up unsteadily, sighed, and said, "You're welcome, I know you guys are showing mercy." After a short rest, the two continued to move forward, facing the second-to-last director, the administrator, who they were about to face. In the battle, it was doomed from the beginning that this was a head-to-head competition. The administrator knew the strength of Lin Xiao and Harry, so from the beginning, he had a bit of contempt. Even when Lin Xiao released his coercion, his thoughts did not change. After all, he was facing two teenage children, and the gap in strength between them was still too big. Lin Xiao and Harry made a few ups and downs before arriving in front of the administrator. But when they took hold, a sharp breath suddenly rushed towards them, as if there was a long sword with an invincible point in front of them. This plan was negotiated by them before, and the administrator is their strongest in the China Wizarding Institute except Li Ningning. These three strikes were completed in an instant. Lin Xiao and Harry didn't even see how the administrator's hands moved, but three undistracted attacks came to them at the same time. Facing the sharp blade from Lin Xiao, he had a long spear in his hand. The administrator waved it 3 times, 2 of which were aimed at Lin Xiao's sharp blade and Harry's short knife behind him, and the third one, directly headed towards Lin Xiao's own protective shield. In this short battle, Lin Xiao had already discovered several clues. The long sword attacked again and again. Lin Xiao and Harry both dodged the long sword's frontal attack. At this time, the long sword suddenly rushed into the air and passed by the pillar, seemingly out of control, and headed towards the ground. Lin Xiao, who succeeded in the first attack, also felt the manager's neglect of them, but he was not angry, but secretly delighted in his heart. After standing firm, he and Harry vacated again at the same time, super fast to the manager. The staff ran over. He is strengthening himself by absorbing the power of the ground phoenix perch tree. We have to attack quickly, don't give him a chance. Due to the unknown situation, Lin Xiao and Harry did not immediately pursue, but adjusted their bodies and state. Facts once again proved that Lin Xiao and Harry's idea was correct. Seeing that the long sword was about to be inserted into the ground, the long sword suddenly stopped. The color of the land centered on the long sword instantly turned black, and the long sword changed color on the ground. During the process, bursts of roars were heard. Lin Xiao quickly retreated to Harry's side. He could no longer retreat. Lin Xiao and Harry took out their shields at the same time to block the manager's sudden outburst of prestige. When the golden light hit the shield, countless noises suddenly erupted, and the two tried their best to fight against each other, so that they would not be embarrassed. Thinking like this, under the protection of the protective cover, the two people's bodies broke through the attack of the clods and went straight to the long sword. Ha! The manager was out of stock, and the doctor had a pillar behind it at this time, and there was no way to retreat. Seeing that Lin Xiao's attacks were all coming towards him, he held a long sword in his hand and stabbed it hard on the ground. Immediately afterwards, the white light was centered on him, and a large amount of light radiated outwards in just an instant. His whole person disappeared into the air, and all his spiritual power was integrated into the long sword. At the same time, the long sword flipped around in the air and ran towards the ground again. I don't know if this situation is exclusive to the administrators, or if they can't learn from home. Every golden light burst into the air with a long series of sounds, although it collided with Lin Xiao's coercive force. Lin Xiao and Harry have never seen such a situation before. The long sword is actually the incarnation of the administrator's wand. The wizard's body and spiritual power are integrated into the wand. This is the real unity. This is, Lin Xiao's eyes have become dignified. Judging from the exploration of spiritual power and the battle just now, the attack just now, the administrator only used 8 points of strength. And its power is accompanied by a power rebound spell, which can shield the enemy's attack to the greatest extent, and absorb the enemy's attack while rebounding instantly. Harry, be sure to stop him, don't let him touch the ground. Lin Xiao's voice sounded. But judging from the situation just now, the defensive power of this long sword is almost the same as Lin Xiao's defensive cover, and in the state of the long sword, his attack power is also infinite. But when this collision came together, he realized that the two young people in front of him were not as easy to deal with as he imagined. This time, both of them were inside Lin Xiao's protective cover, but as the body slammed forward, about 10 meters above them, countless long swords fell from the sky and shot directly at the administrator. But the strange thing, no matter how they attack, no matter how fierce their exploits, but their attacks are like falling on a metal that never wears out. No matter how powerful the attack was, apart from the metal crashing sound and the sparks from the collision, Lin Xiao could not, feel any mental damage to the administrator. How is this going? If the two of them hadn't retreated quickly just now, if they had been stabbed in the front by the long sword, I'm afraid they would have fallen to the ground at this time. In order to occupy the offensive of the battle, the administrator showed his strength in the first attack. After Lin Xiao and Harry had protective shields, apart from the spells, the most powerful thing was melee attacks. He and Harry's few salaries were only able to exert their formidable power under melee attacks. Especially now that there is an increase in coercion, their advantages are brought into full play. Lin Xiao, be careful. Behind him, Harry's voice suddenly sounded. Lin Xiao is not sure, but one thing he can be sure of is that after the body is fused with the wand, the strength of the administrator is definitely stronger than that of ordinary wizards. Without the body, Lin Xiao and Harry will lose their target and can only use this long sword as an attack target. At this moment, the long sword incarnated by the administrator had already fallen to the ground. To be precise, it should have been drawn on the ground. A layer of lust was lifted up by the long sword in the sound of the explosion, and countless clods rose into the air. A little bit of light, and the harsh sound of breaking through the air came straight towards Lin Xiao and Harry. After hearing Harry's voice, Lin Xiao flew into the air without hesitation to retreat, and just as he was in the air, the long sword inserted into the ground suddenly bounced, and several golden lights exploded like shooting stars. Due to the attack just now, when the administrator's mental power was integrated into the long sword, Lin Xiao had already pounced on him. He attacked with Harry, a piercing metal crash erupting from the longsword. Lin Zhao's long swords in mid-air also smashed towards the administrator without exception. Lin Zhao said to Harry, at this time the two had already entered the range that the administrator absorbed. As expected of the director of the China Wizarding Institute, Lin Zhao has never seen a wizard who can integrate his body and spirit into his wand. At the same time as the long sword appeared, there were also several white lights coming from Lin Zhao's side. That was Harry's attack. His attack was more silent than Lin Zhao's. What he had to do was to seize the moment when the administrator faced Lin Zhao's attack with all his strength and launched the most important blow. Their purpose is very simple. Taking advantage of the heavy damage just now, without giving the administrators time to relax, they must take advantage of the advantages they had at the beginning to forcibly suppress the administrator's momentum. Of course, this is their best and only choice at present. Hearing Lin Zhao's words, Harry instantly understood. The series of attacks just now, for the administrator, should also consume a lot of their own. The administrators are like every director here. Part of their strength comes from the gift of the Phoenix Resting Tree. Therefore, as the director of the China Wizarding Institute, when they need to replenish their spiritual power, they can only ask for it from the Phoenix Resting Tree. The clods just now were more to stop them. He didn't have time to figure out just now why the administrator wanted to get into the ground and missed a good opportunity. After the administrator paused for a while, he immediately decided to absorb the stored energy no matter what, and the long sword rolled in the air, only heading towards the ground. A red light immediately flew over from behind the pillar. With his guesses about the administrator, as well as his super judgment and keen observation, Lin Zhao instantly knew what the administrator was thinking. At this time, Lin Zhao and Harry had already dived into the water. After the administrator's raindrops fall into the water, they will soon be absorbed by the sea water. Even the administrator cannot detect anything in this situation. The feeling of being powerful and having nowhere to go makes the administrator have the urge to vomit blood. It is important to know that his current consumption of mental energy is super strong. If he can't find the two people again, the energy he has accumulated will also be consumed. Most of his original mental power was consumed a lot, and he was attached to the sword. How could he not be affected? With the administrator's full practical experience, facing this situation, he can't help but feel a little depressed. He felt that Lin Zhao and Harry, as if they had seen through his thoughts, were not fooled at all. Not only did it prevent him from absorbing the power of the Phoenix Tree, but the defense was also perfect, without revealing the slightest flaw. Lin Zhao's heart froze, his eyes fixed on the administrator's movements. He knew that the administrator would never do pointless things and go in that direction. Either he wanted to recover his spiritual power through the cover of the Haitian border, or there was some attack method there that he wanted to use. The water column burst in the air, sending out a sharp rain that fell from the sky. The rain didn't seem to be fast, not yet. The clods just had a strong attack, but he covered every corner of the entire battlefield. Lin Zhao said calmly. Lin Zhao's voice just fell, and suddenly, behind them, where the sea and land meet, a sharp water column shot up into the sky, and the water column was emitting a dazzling light. Under such circumstances, the administrators who did not withdraw from the long sword tended to be at a disadvantage in terms of mental power consumption, and Lin Zhao and Harry, who had almost no mental power consumption, were much better off. Boom! The clod hit the body, and a sudden pain came. Lin Zhao and Harry, of course, wouldn't suffer such a big loss and still didn't fight back. A red light came out from the wand, turned into a red beam of light, and hit the side of the long sword directly. Seeing this situation, Lin Zhao snorted coldly, the light covering his body. He said to Harry next to him, "Back up, we will fight back on the table. As long as the long sword doesn't fall on the ground, don't rush to attack." The long sword was hit by the beam of light, and the moment it absorbed the power was interrupted. The long sword flew out diagonally in the air, rolled several times in the air, and fell to the ground. However, the long sword that had condensed all the energy at this moment stopped in mid-air, as if waiting for something. Obviously, what he was waiting for never happened. At this time, Harry's wand exuded mists, completely shrouding the administrator's long sword in the mist, and Lin Zhao and Harry were suddenly lost within the administrator's line of sight. Harry's fog slowly disappeared as the raindrops fell. At this time, the administrator's long sword expanded rapidly, and the huge energy fluctuations drew a long crack on the ground. With Lin Zhao's speed and Harry's assistance, even a distance of 100 meters is nothing, and the closer the distance, the faster the speed and the stronger the attack power. Although his power in this phase cannot damage the long sword, but preventing it from sucking soil and accumulating power is indeed no problem. There is no doubt that this attack by the administrator must be very powerful. This is the most terrifying attack. Its form is very simple. Such a huge energy condenses at one point to attack. Even Lin Zhao's defense is not enough. Difficult to resist, must be hit hard. Although his initial state has regained his disadvantage, it has no effect at all. 0. How did he know that Lin Zhao's ability to analyze and control the battlefield was already very strong, and his mental strength was almost the same as that of the administrator? Under such a combat state, he would basically not make mistakes. Harry, let him disappear from our sight, he dives, and we dive too. Lin Zhao said to Harry in a hurry. Quick. Lin Zhao said to Harry after confirming his judgment even more. Although it was certain that he could not absorb the power of the Phoenix Tree as he did on land, but going there, his strength would undoubtedly be greatly enhanced. There was really no one on the battlefield that the administrator wanted to investigate, so how could he concentrate on delivering that most important blow? However, after the administrator's raindrops fell, he did not get the answer he wanted at all. The entire battlefield was empty, and there was no trace of Lin Zhao and Harry to be found. It is common to be parallel to the ground at this time, with the sword pointed directly at Lin Zhao and Ha. Even though the administrator thought that Lin Zhao and Harry would catch up and attract them into his control, when he was attacking in the circle, he found out that Lin Zhao and Harry were not chasing him out, they had already after reaching his control range, after a reversal, the two people had already withdrawn from his control range and landed firmly behind the pillar. The battle situation seems to have tilted in the direction of Lin Zhao and Harry. After all, the two of them have occupied the dominant position of the war. Although Lin Zhao does not know how this form consumes the administrator's own mental power, since it is attached to the magic wand above, the consumption of mental power will not be low, at least not lower than the two of them. The administrator did not expect that Lin Zhao and Harry, both of whom were so fierce, did not defend like the others when facing their own attack, but rushed up against the attack. 0. Flowers. The administrator obviously found this too. The long sword was no longer obsessed with confrontation, and after turning around a few times, he moved towards the edge of the earth again. And under the shroud of Harry's psychedelic spell, even if they attacked the administrator at this time, he didn't notice it so quickly. Your smoke can not only confuse the administrator when he is covering him, but at the same time, it can also play a role in isolating the sound. In fact, Lin Zhao discovered his purpose when the administrator started to launch it. The water column that the administrator first sent out had no offensive power. After turning into raindrops, each raindrop is just a test. As long as the administrator detects their direction through the ground, and then instantly shifts the direction of the attack to attack them, with the abilities of Lin Zhao and Harry, it is absolutely impossible to avoid them. What made him even more depressed was that in this confrontation, he could not directly absorb the power of the Phoenix resting tree, which was really helpless. However, the range of Harry's Tibetan smoke expanded into the water, and even if the administrator entered the water to detect, the two of them could quickly appear on the ground. When the handlers probed on land, they quickly dived into the sea. The administrator came out of the long sword, and at this moment, an unprecedented pressure developed in his heart. This kind of coercion, even he couldn't help sweating profusely. The attack that came from the whole face just now disappeared in an instant, and at the same time, a light without warning rushed over from the side. Although the administrator has a wealth of on-the-spot experience, he has vaguely sensed that the situation was wrong in the previous situation. After the entire confrontation, he was always led by the nose, unable to exert his advantages, and was fully exploited by the opponent. Knowing his own disadvantages, what damn it most is that every time he attacks, the opponent seems to know in advance, chooses a response method in the shortest time, and gives full play to their various advantages. He had already guessed that Lin Zhao and Harry hid in the water, controlled the long sword with willpower, and probed around. The administrator felt that no matter how strong their attack power was, at most it would be the same as the first time. If they hurt themselves a little, they would definitely not be able to defeat themselves. He attaches 1.3 to the long sword, which means that he has super strong resistance to fighting. The two of them will definitely reveal a huge flaw in such a desperate attack. When Harry was about to respond, Lin Zhao immediately stopped him. Don't make a sound, he is using aggressive tactics. As long as he observes carefully, it will be time for him to turn defeat into victory. Just when he was thinking, almost everything was going on according to her thoughts, suddenly, a powerful coercion came over in an instant, and when he reacted, it was already too late. But the administrator never thought that Lin Zhao and Harry had indeed launched an attack, but this attack was completely different from what he imagined. To be precise, the attack power this time was much stronger than he imagined. This spread must be made, in fact, to protect himself, but also to find out the positions of Lin Zhao and Harry. But no matter how surprised he was, in the face of such a terrifying attack, he could only confront it head-on. In just a moment, the body that had just escaped returned to the long sword. Almost at the same time, the long sword met Lin Zhao and Lin Zhao head-on. Harry's attack. When he entered Harry's fog, He saw a shower of raindrops blooming within the fog, as long as it was the administrator's helplessness, because only in this way could he see the situation in the fog clearly. If he doesn't do this, when he can't find the other party's figure at all, he may suffer a fatal blow at any time. Now this strike needs to be precisely locked on the target. If the target cannot be locked, there is no way to maximize the power of the attack. Lin Xiao and Harry's attack did not target the administrator, he turned all the locked power into attack power, desperate. However, it is clear that the administrators have been a little light on the 330 enemy from the very beginning. In his opinion, Lin Xiao and Harry are just two teenagers, so he didn't care much at the beginning, and soon let Lin Xiao and Harry suppress with their respective advantages. When he showed his true strength at that time, he hoped to defeat them with his attacking power, but Lin Xiao and Harry had already seen it and failed. The administrator couldn't hear the echo and could only go back to the land. In order to fight directly, the administrator had to take the initiative to enter Harry's fog. He knew that the attack in our opponent's domain would be very disadvantageous, but if he didn't do this, the director of his dignified China Wizard Institute would be defeated by these two little boys because of exhaustion of mental power. The raindrops fell in the mist, and Lin Xiao and Harry were still not found. A helpless feeling of aggrieved, finally, couldn't help but burst out with anger that spread in his chest. The long sword flipped and came to the column where the two last appeared. He could feel that this level could no longer be explained by clinical experience, and there must be other reasons, but he could never have imagined that the current situation he was facing was only because of Lin Xiao and his mental strength. Almost. The rich clinical experience allowed him to make the most correct response. At this time, he was completely suppressed by Lin Xiao's mental power, and he had to start the confrontation as soon as possible. With the detection of Lin Xiao's mental power, the two of them avoided the threat brought to them by the administrator, and the administrator's mental power was constantly being consumed under such circumstances. The figures of the two people emerged from the fog, and the red light administrator who went out of the terrifying force exploded in front of the administrator. Lin Xiao's judgment is not wrong. In terms of strength, the administrator is indeed the second most powerful among all the directors of the Huashan Wizard Institute. The administrator's ability has always been based on strong attack power, indomitable attacks, and super explosive power are his characteristics. If he is allowed to use his own advantages, let alone Lin Xiao and Harry, Dumbledore is here, nor will it be his opponent. With his powerful attacking power, among the people he knew, only Director Li could fight against him. He was injured himself, and the consumption of mental power has always been higher than that of Lin Xiao and Harry. If it goes on like this, it will only become more and more unfavorable for him. This is why the administrator has been eager to fight against Lin Xiao and Harry. The reason, if he made a hit, he would soon be unable to bear it. The two have been submerged underwater, and with the addition of the invisibility cloak, the administrator cannot detect the figures of the two at all. The administrator understands that if he cannot attack accurately, it will only increase consumption. Lin Xiao and Harry cooperated very well. At this time, the manager's own mental energy consumption had reached a terrifying level. This condensed enormous power, but the long sword that was unable to attack could not be used. Come out, do you dare to fight in an upright manner? The administrator's angry voice sounded in the open space. The weakness under his powerful attack power is gradually exposed, that is, the huge consumption of mental power brought about by the super attack power. Originally, the administrator separated himself from the long sword just to lure them to attack. Aren't the two of you able to see through my attack? Well, I'll let you see through it, pretending that your mental power is exhausted to the limit and you can no longer attach to the long sword. What to do? In the end, the administrator had no choice but to withdraw his attack state, and the mental power just now could only be wasted in vain. Lin Xiao smiled lightly. The reason for this, I believe seniors will know soon. After a night's rest, the two of them came to the field of their last commander-in-chief. As if he knew they were coming, Li Ningning arrived ahead of schedule, crossed his legs, and sat on the ground to meditate. The administrator calmed down, obviously not seriously injured. He looked at Lin Xiao. Why? Why are you able to know all the directions of my attacks? This is what he wants to know the most. The feeling of walking was the first time in his life. I really want this sentence, he said to the administrator. From the very beginning, when the administrator rushed into Harry's fog, Lin Xiao has been observing the administrator's movements. They are dark, the administrator is bright, and Lin Xiao can feel the administrator's power changes to the greatest extent. After all, among all the directors, Li Ningning's information is the least they know, because in the previous trials, Li Ningning has always admitted defeat directly. In all the information, except for the little bit given by Director Lin, no one knows how powerful Director Li is now. Snapped. The administrator looked at him. He knew that his loss in this battle was not too wrong. From the perspective of strength, she was many times stronger than these two teenagers. If the enemy underestimated him, if he immediately launched a strong attack from the moment he came up, maybe the result would be different. Li Ningning glanced at them, and finally put his eyes on Lin Xiao and waved at him. Lin Xiao flew straight into the air and flew in her direction. When the body was in the air, the protective shield spread out all over the body, and Harry followed Lin Xiao after he was in the air. It's just that he hid himself behind Lin Xiao and didn't launch an attack. Of course, if it was Lin Xiao and Harry, they would only say that it was a tactic. Just put it on Li Ningning's body, they thought it was a sneak attack. They all knew that the next battle would be a tough one, much more difficult than all previous confrontations. They are now the last person left in the 9 exams, Li Ningning, the director of the China Wizarding Institute. The two of them closed their eyes and did not have any communication. At such times, they no longer need to say anything. Li Ningning is like a strange opponent to them. The unknown is often the most terrifying. When they were really going to face him, Lin Xiao and Harry realized that in their hearts, they really had no certainty of victory. Lin Xiao and Harry used all their strength to launch an attack, and if they accepted it without any defense at all, even Director Li would be hit hard. Lin Xiao and Harry came out of the sea soaking wet. On the opposite side of them, the one who had come out of the long sword. The administrator was spitting blood. Their right hands were on the ground, so that they could barely support themselves from falling down. Has been stained red with blood. The two said goodbye to the administrator and found a place to rest for a while. 07 When the fog dissipated, Harry's mental strength was indeed limited. After the blow just now, the fog spell would be difficult to sustain, but what does it matter? Their purpose has been achieved. She raised her head with difficulty and looked at Lin Xiao and Harry. You guys are more powerful than I thought. 35. In the short period of nearly a month in the China Wizarding Institute, although they have endured a lot of pain and made continuous progress under extremely difficult circumstances, the results are undoubtedly huge. From the moment they first came in, the two of them were almost completely reborn, in general. In fact, the administrator's initial judgment was not wrong. When Lin Xiao separated from the long sword, he really couldn't judge what he was going to do next. However, he knew that with the administrator's strength, at that time there was no one he chose without hesitation. Lin Xiao guessed that it was his confusion. Although Li Ningning had already predicted the strength of Lin Xiao and Harry. But the several directors before her, whoever is stronger than them, are not all defeated by them. Therefore, when she faces these two people, she will not take it lightly. You come up to make a ray, launch an attack, and take the lead in the battle. Just when Lin Xiao and Harry reached Li Ningning's side not 330 meters away, suddenly, a terrifying monster appeared behind Li Ningning. If the previous spectre was extremely ugly, then the monster beside Li Ningning was very disgusting. Lin Xiao and Harry's initial attack was not wrong, it was indeed a desperate attack, but they just switched positions when the administrator was not paying attention. What the administrator thought was a frontal attack was actually a side attack, all of which were in Lin Xiao's plan. The two looked at each other and saw seriousness in each other's eyes, then saluted Li Ningning and said, "Director, let's do the test." When Lin Xiao and Harry saw Li Ningning, a trace of surprise flashed in their eyes. The reluctant Director Li was completely different from the Director Li they had met before. She was wrapped in a black robe. It seemed that the robe did not fit very well. Now her body is a bit funny. Lin Xiao and Harry bowed slightly to the administrator. In this battle, they fought very happily. Although the whole process involved more tactics than strength, the administrator's strength and his on-the-spot experience were all in the entire magical world. Belonged to the forefront, and they defeated him without anyone's help. But the most terrifying thing is that her loose hair, fluttering in the wind, is messy, and it looks like a nigger with long hair. In the fog, Lin Xiao showed a faint smile and said softly, "If you rush into the opponent's field to attack, you are doomed to fail." Lin Xiao looked at him and said respectfully, "Administrator, your strength is indeed strong, we have witnessed it before, if it were on a real battlefield, neither of us would be your opponent. Your attack power makes we have seen the strongest so far. This battle, we won because we have a full understanding of the strength of the seniors, but the seniors know nothing about us." As soon as Lin Xiao and Harry landed, many tentacles of the tentacle monster threw out at the same time, towards Lin Xiao and Harry. It seems that Li Ningning is completely different from the administrator. She has no bottom line as a director at all, so she will attack directly when she comes up. Lin Xiao looked at him and remembered the tentacle monster he had heard of in his previous life. His body was densely covered with tentacles, and on the tentacles, there were dense white circles, and it looked as disgusting as it was disgusting. This means that in this war, they must be passive throughout the whole process. The more they show their power, the more Li Ningning's power will be increased. No wonder the tentacle monster was able to make such an accurate judgment from the very beginning. Facing the tentacles thrown by Li Ningning's tentacle monster, Lin Xiao used his magic wand to transform into several snake shapes while attacking with the protective shield, and wrapped around these tentacles. He must first know, what is the power of these tentacles? Lin Xiao and Harry saw that when the white circle was approaching them, dense, thick smoke sprayed out from the circle. In a sense, their identities were completely reversed in this battle and the administrator's battle. In this battle, they were completely unprepared for Li Ningning. Lin Xiao didn't make a fierce resistance from the beginning, because facing an extremely unfamiliar tentacle monster, he had absolutely no idea of the opponent's attack method. Tentacle monsters can survive without their hearts. However, a hint of surprise flashed in Li Ningning's eyes, because she could clearly feel that although the tentacles had absorbed Lin Xiao's snake shadow, she knew very well that the core power of the snake shadow had been blocked. No matter how she tried, she could only absorb the little bit of spiritual power on the surface of the snake shadow, and no matter how deep it was, she couldn't break free. When the snake shadow and the tentacles were entangled, Lin Xiao's heart trembled. He could clearly feel that although his snake shadow toad was on the tentacles, it was soon wrapped up by those tentacles, and the dense white circles on the tentacles were like suction cups, releasing him. All the snake shadows were absorbed. Lin Xiao concentrated his mental power as much as possible to probe the tentacle monster's body, trying to find his weakness. But he was surprised to find that he couldn't find any flaws in this huge tentacle monster. In other words, this tentacle monster's body is not vulnerable, and even the place where his heart is displayed is only slightly more important than other places. At the same time, the absorptive power of the dense circle on the shot also increased exponentially. Lin Xiao could clearly feel that his spiritual power was continuously draining. At this time, facing the entanglement of tentacle monsters, Lin Xiao naturally regarded the dagger as his primary weapon. The power of the dagger was gradually released, and before the attack started, the cold aura of the dagger had already spread to the tentacle monster, causing a layer of goosebumps on his already dense tentacles. Lin Xiao closed his eyes and summoned the dagger in his mind, and a short dagger began to gradually appear in Lin Xiao's hand. At the same time, a powerful absorbing force came from the tentacles. Lin Xiao instantly understood what Li Ningning's tentacles did. Li Ningning was commanding the tentacle monster, several tentacles were released, and the powerful pulling force pulled Lin Xiao and Harry towards her. These tentacles were so powerful that Lin Xiao and Harry had absolutely no room to resist. However, Li Ningning's speed is not slower than the two of them at all, and she won't easily let Lin Xiao and Harry regain the situation because of her first advantage. While Lin Xiao and Harry cast the psychedelic spell, she directly possessed the tentacle monster. Absorption is like a powerful sponge, constantly absorbing the opponent's strength, and then rebounding. At the same time, it also transmits the opponent's strength to Li Ningning to increase Li Ningning. Of course, the facts also prove that her judgment was right. When she saw that those tentacles were blocked by Lin Xiao's attack, outside the protective shield, she couldn't help taking a deep breath. She is very aware of the strength of the tentacles. In the face of such a terrifying tentacle, Lin Xiao can still keep it out of the protective cover. It is conceivable that Lin Xiao's control over the system has reached a very terrifying level. The dagger's attack was powerful, but under the contact of the tentacle, it was unscathed. It seems that he felt the power of the dagger, and at that moment, the body that was shot and hung expanded rapidly, more than double the size of the original. Coupled with the strong pulling force of the tentacles, Lin Xiao could not control his body and let the tentacles pull them over. At this time, the wound left on the tentacle due to the dagger attack just now healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the repair process was completed in a blink of an eye. Not to mention passing through the tentacles and diverting the direction, and, to Lin Xiao's surprise, after being stopped by the tentacles to attack, Lin Xiao could no longer feel the dagger in his mind. At the same time, Lin Xiao can still feel that there are, good, mental power fluctuations on these white circles, which means that these white circles have incantations, which can accurately locate them. Swish. Lin Xiao first smelled a pungent smell in the house. He guessed that these objects had a strong psychedelic effect. As long as the skin touched a little, the whole body would be paralyzed, and the ears would be quickly corroded. But the current situation made him feel a burst of despair. With super strong recovery ability, tough and flawless body, and special fighting style, tentacle monsters don't even need to face head-to-head, just dragging, they can drag their opponents to death. When Li Ningning disappeared, Lin Xiao could clearly feel that the tentacle monster's power was even stronger. Lin Xiao and Harry couldn't break free from the tentacle monster's bondage. They tried their best, but they were able to control their bodies so that they wouldn't be pulled over so smoothly by the tentacle monster. No, these white mists are poisonous. Lin Xiao said vigilantly. With the improvement of strength and spiritual power, Lin Xiao discovered more and more that this dagger was different. Although he is different from spell magic, every time he uses a dagger, there will be a kind of attack power of a dagger, which is when his attack is the most powerful. He knew the difference in this dagger, but he hadn't fully developed his power yet. However, Lin Xiao knew that once they got close, there would be absolutely no good results. Lin Xiao and Harry simultaneously cast a psychedelic spell to interfere with the direction of the tentacles. The power gradually condensed by the dagger quickly delivered a sharp blow to the tentacles. But what surprised him happened again. The speed of the dagger was so fast, but at the moment when he attacked the tentacle monster's body moved, and a tentacle that was in the air was transferred directly, just blocking it. Dagger attack. At the same time, Lin Xiao and Harry's bodies were wrapped by several tentacles at the same time. The white circles on the tentacles wrapped around them were also expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. It stopped shaking, as if like this, sucking the two of them into the white circle. The snake shadows that were absorbed just now radiated dazzling rays of light, spreading rapidly on the tentacle monster's 330 body. Almost at the same time, the tentacle monster was covered with snake shadows. Inwardly, the snake shadow was firmly entangled, but in the same way, the new snake shadow that erupted later, tightly wrapped the tentacles. Even Lin Xiao, who has always been calm, did not expect Li Ningning's strength to be so perverted. He completely gave up his attack and put all his strength on the absorption of his tentacles. It can be said that it is almost impossible for any wizard to escape as long as he enters the range of the tentacle monster. All absorption stopped, and the two sides entered a tug of war in an instant. The shot could not absorb the power of Lin Xiao and Harry's white mist could not enter the body of the tentacle monster. He already understood almost what he wanted to know. Lin Xiao did not hesitate any longer, and re-exposed the system to surround him and Harry. The oversized protective cover emits a dazzling light. When the two people were enveloped in the protective cover, the absorption ability of the tentacle monster disappeared in an instant, and the white mist that was emitted gradually disappeared. White smoke continuously emitted from the tentacle monster. As the white circles became more and more, the fog became thicker and thicker, the uncle monster absorbed more and more power, and her body began to become more and more hard. However, Lin Xiao and Harry's attacks didn't stop. Don't you want to absorb it? Don't you want to put poison? I'll let you absorb enough and put enough. Lin Xiao finally understood why Li Ningning chose to give up in all the previous confrontations. Because of her strength in such a strange way, there was absolutely no need for confrontation, and almost no one could escape. A cold light flashed in Lin Xiao's eyes, and he secretly said in his heart, "You want to compare with me to Swallow? Well, then I will compare with you. She doesn't have to use any other tactics at all, they will fail." Lin Xiao already knew the tentacle monster's abilities. Why did he choose this way? Did he want to throw himself into the net? Under such all-round contact, he will take all shots, and will absorb all the power they radiate, and the absorption ability of the tentacles can maximize the effect. If this goes on, as long as they continue to unleash their power, the battle will soon be over. 3. The best way to deal with this kind of tentacle monster is long-range attack. After all, the length of the tentacle monster is limited. As long as it is not within his shooting range, through long-range attack, there will be no chance of being absorbed. But judging from the level of insidiousness they showed when they fought against other directors before, this didn't seem like something they would do. As if receiving a signal from Lin Xiao, a white light was released behind Harry, and a thick white mist spread rapidly in the direction of the snake shadow. Not only the tentacles, but even the tentacle monster's body was shrouded in white mist. Behind Lin Xiao, a tentacle radiated red light, and that tentacle was also absorbing, but what he was absorbing was the power of Lin Xiao's space. With all-round contact, Lin Xiao could clearly feel that his spiritual power was draining at an ultra-fast speed. In just a few breaths, he felt that his mental power was no longer able to concentrate. But soon, the tentacle monster went all out to expand its white circle, and Zhou Pingping's situation soon changed, but he came to the tentacle monster's side again. Thinking like this, Li Ningning manipulated the tentacle monster's huge body and shook violently. Although those snake shadows wrapped around the tentacles, they couldn't wrap around every part of the tentacle monster's body after all. Some of the tentacles that were not entangled by the snake shadow threw out towards Lin Xiao and Harry again, and the other part drilled towards the ground. Countless snake shadows emanated from the wand, heading straight for the tentacle monster's body. However, this guy's body is really hard, and when the snake teeth bite it, it's just like biting into metal. It only leaves some marks on the surface of his skin, and it is rarely able to pierce the skin. Instead, he was tightly bound by his tentacles, unable to move. By absorbing the opponent's strength, weakening the opponent, strengthening himself, and gradually paralyzing the opponent, this is undoubtedly an invincible existence in the actual confrontation. Because of any spell, any attack of any power will be blocked and absorbed by its tentacles. Even if it directly attacks her body, a considerable part of its power will be absorbed. Coupled with the terrifying recovery ability of the tentacle monster, any wizard who is attacked by getting entangled and being dragged to death is not a difficult thing. Li Ningning was excited and puzzled at this time. The excitement is that in this short period of time, the growth of the two of them has completely surpassed their imagination. This proves that Lin Xiao and Harry have absolute talents. Maybe they are really Chinese wizards. Of hope. However, what is puzzling is that Lin Xiao and Harry clearly know. But at this time, a smile appeared on Lin Xiao's face. He looked at Harry, who had been ignored by Li Ningning. The real confrontation had only just begun. Lin Xiao and Harry understood that Li Ningning, wanted to absorb power from the phoenix resting tree. But this time, they couldn't stop her like they did with the administrator. Only then did Lin Xiao really realize how terrifying Li Ningning was. Everything within the reach of tentacle monsters, any form of energy, was no exception, and tentacle monsters were able to transmit these powers into her body, replenishing the consumed energy. Energy. As the power was absorbed, Lin Xiao and Harry could clearly feel that the tentacles that were very close to them, and the white circles on the tentacles, began to move irregularly, and the absorption began again. And this time, Lin Xiao's snake shadow had a hard time wrapping all the tentacles completely. And the phoenix resting tree is undoubtedly her best strength booster. As long as there is a tentacle on the ground, it can continuously absorb the power of the phoenix resting tree. These thick white mists followed the snake's shadow and reached the surface of each white circle. The spiritual power that had been passing quickly in the previous seconds suddenly stopped. Those white mists were like barriers, waiting for the power of Lin Xiao and Harry to disappear. Lin Xiao and Harry's power is disappearing, while Li Ningning's power is increasing. Lin Xiao closed his eyes and went through all the methods in his mind. Even if he made the strongest attack now, he couldn't break free. Li Ningning obviously knew the flaw of the tentacle monster very well, so from the beginning, she pulled the opponent into the tentacle monster's contact range. Li Ningning's strength can almost be said to be the ceiling of melee attack. Even so, Li Ningning was very surprised. She had never imagined that Harry would have such a powerful force that he would dare to compare himself with her in this way. The battle came to this point, and there was almost no suspense. Lin Xiao rescued Harry. Harry stood behind Lin Xiao. She felt that half of her body was paralyzed, and she couldn't control the tentacle monster at all. Even the release of her spell was slow, and after that, it became difficult for her to concentrate on releasing the spell. However, Lin Xiao's snake shadow and the white circle on the tentacle monster re-entered a state of anxiety, and it was absolutely impossible to break free within this short period of stun effect. Okay, I admit defeat. Li Ningning said weakly. Li Ningning only felt that his body was gradually paralyzed, but he didn't feel anything. Although the tentacle monster's repair ability is very strong, in the face of the poison, especially the poison in the body, there is really no way to do it. She tried her best to make the spread of the poison a little slower, but she couldn't stop the tentacle at all. The passing of strange power. Lin Xiao glanced at Harry and nodded at him. Without the slightest hesitation, Harry used his wand to release a thicker white mist. The dizzy time was short, but it was enough for Lin Xiao. He placed the tentacle monsters within the range of his system for the first time, and then, the system's super-absorbing power instantly conveyed the tentacle monster's power to every corner of the system. The snake shadow gradually suppressed the tentacles that gradually lost their strength. 0. The power you used to attack me just now, but the system? Li Ningning's body did not fully recover, and her voice sounded very hoarse. But fortunately, Lin Xiao, from the very beginning, there was no intention to break free. Lin Xiao imagined a clone in his mind. The body that turned over did not have tentacles wrapped around it, and at this time, he was still in a state of dizziness. Naturally, the action of the clone cannot be stopped. He has lost half of his mental power now, and even if he escapes, he will lose the next battle. So until now, he has only one choice, that is, to fight fire with poison, to suck. This is Lin Xiao. There is no way, his system can absorb all power, except for his snake shadow. What he really uses to absorb power is the system. Powerful. There was a green light from Harry's wand, towards the heart of the tentacle monster. No way, the tentacle monster had no head. Harry used the stun spell. Li Ningning couldn't dodge it. The stun spell had already landed on the tentacle monster, and he was temporarily unable to move. The clone pushed Lin Xiao's body to the center of the tentacle monster's body, but the clone was very careful. Lin Xiao's body was not in direct contact with the tentacle monster's body, but even so, Lin Xiao could still feel, the tentacle monster exudes a strong pressure. Swish. Lin Xiao did not immediately withdraw the system, but returned the tentacle monster and Li Ningning's power that he had absorbed earlier into her body. Moreover, after letting Harry use the white snake to detoxify the tentacle monster, Li Ningning recovered the system after separating from the tentacle monster's body. Centered around the heart, the tentacles shriveled rapidly and continued to spread outward. When Li Ningning woke up from the dizzy state, he was shocked. She can feel the strength of the tentacle monster's body, which is passing by rapidly, and, through the painful feeling, the tentacle monster's body also spreads rapidly on her body. At first, she just thought that Lin Zhao's system had brought about such a terrifying change. She struggled desperately, twisting her body constantly, trying to keep Lin Zhao away from the tentacle monster's body. However, at this time, the tentacle monster was already completely within the scope of the system, and the more she struggled, the more tightly the snake's shadow wrapped around the tentacle monster's body, the more she struggled, the faster her mental power was lost. Contrary to Li Ningning's situation, with the system, the more power absorbed, the larger the space surrounded by the system, and the stronger the power inside the system. After the quick return of mental power, the mental power lost by Lin Zhao and Harry before is recovering quickly. To be honest, Li Ningning was a little unwilling, but he did not resist this ending too much. After all, these two teenagers did have different opportunities. The stun effect is short-lived, but the mental power Lin Zhao absorbed from the stunned tentacle monster is equivalent to the mental power that he quickly absorbed before, and at the same time, the poison has successfully reached the tentacle monster. In the body. Lin Zhao understands that this is his only chance to infinitely enlarge the system space, and the absorbing power of terror inside the system will spread out in an instant. I have to say, Lin Zhao and Harry, this counterattack is the most correct way. With the ever-enhancing system, he regained the initiative and firmly controlled the confrontation situation in his own hands. Both Lin Zhao and Harry knew that the tentacle monster itself has the ability to poison, and its resistance to poison is also very strong. A reckless attack. Lin Zhao's wand re-released red rays of light, and these red rays of light transformed into snakes, and instantly wrapped around every part of the tentacle monster's body. Down, and gradually stopped down. Li Ningning sighed and muttered, as expected of the system, you are the first ones who can defeat my tentacle monster. The tentacle monster's body is rapidly withering, and the space of the system is infinitely enlarged. Lin Zhao used all his spiritual power to absorb the system, and Harry's white mist was filled with poison, and he took advantage of the dizziness effect to convey it to the inside of the tentacle monster's body. Slowly, all the tentacles of the tentacle monster drooped down as if they had lost their vitality. The white circle on the tentacle no longer emits white mist, and even the tentacle monster's body is shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. All Li Ningning's strength is used to prevent the spread of the toxin in the body. 0. 4 flowers. Lin Zhao nodded, exactly. He could already clearly hear the tentacle monster and Li Ningning's heartbeat, which was gradually slowing down. The slower heartbeat means that both Li Ningning and the tentacle monster have not continued to protect their own strength. If they continue to absorb it, I am afraid that it will cause irreversible consequences. Lin Zhao looked at his right hand, and he could still move. If he used the demon realm to shift his position, it was not impossible, but it meant that he had to completely give up all the mental power he had released before. The tentacle monster twitched quickly, detoxifying himself, and Li Ningning became the same as before. Director Li, admit defeat. At this moment, Lin Zhao stopped attacking temporarily and did not continue. Li Ningning smiled slightly, then said, okay, let's go back to rest first. After that, he patted Lin Zhao and Harry on the shoulders and disappeared. Lin Zhao also knew that Li Ningning's real strength was not just that. After all, Li Ningning had never launched an attack from beginning to end. You must know that the Phoenix Resting Tree has probably existed in this world for tens of thousands of years. His skills, control of spells, and on-the-spot experience are probably more than all the directors combined. If Lin Zhao and Harry have been training for a few years like they have recently, Lin Zhao still has the confidence to challenge the Phoenix Resting Tree, but now, just the two of them, how to fight this confrontation. Li Ningning smiled slightly, looked at Lin Zhao and said, Lin Zhao, don't forget, the person you will face in the future is most likely a combination of the Phoenix Resting Tree and me. If you can't rest in Phoenix now if you hold on to the Tree Man for an hour, then when you face the Tree Man, you have no chance of winning. 35. He believed that even if all the wizards in the world combined, they would not necessarily be able to take advantage of the Phoenix Resting Tree. It can be said that the Phoenix Resting Tree is the most powerful and true guardian in the world at present. The entire China Wizarding House exists because of it. But obviously, Li Ningning explained to them. Li Ningning looked at Lin Zhao, there is another favorable condition for you. The Phoenix Resting Tree will not use power beyond your understanding. Before confronting the director, they only knew the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree, but after completing all the director's trials, they already had the tip of the iceberg's understanding of the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree. However, Lin Zhao still wanted to ask, Director Li, can I ask, why did you add such a test that is impossible to pass in the 9 exams? Lin Zhao may think that there is still a possibility of a battle, but the Phoenix Resting Tree, he is completely unsure. The last chance is left, this time you can take a good rest for a few days. After adjusting your state, it is not too late to participate in the trial. 39 Administrator patted the two on the shoulders and said. The administrator and Director Lin also came to cheer them on, then left, leaving time for the two of them. I'm convinced that I lost, you guys won. Li Ningning knew that in the end, Lin Xiao had shown mercy to her at this time. If she didn't surrender, her whole body's strength would be absorbed, so she wouldn't be embarrassed anymore. Harry looked at Lin Xiao and said helplessly, I don't know if I should be proud of us or sad for us. If we can get the power of the Phoenix Tree, then 1. 3 will be a great joy for us. Look at those directors, almost every one of them absorbed the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree and became so powerful. However, now we have to fight against him. I think, even if the Phoenix Resting Tree only uses his real power half of our strength, we have no way to resist his attack. What's more, the entity of the Phoenix Resting Tree is only illusory, and it is almost impossible to persist in such a situation for an hour. Li Ningning looked at Lin Xiao, and this time, the Phoenix Resting Tree will not use the power of the system to attack you, just like us, only use pure magic, and the time is 1 hour. However, I advise you to rest. Now, there is only one chance for the Phoenix Resting Tree test. If you cannot pass the Phoenix Resting Tree test, you will never be able to leave the China Wizarding Institute. Although the Phoenix Perching Tree has no entity, he is far more terrifying than all the masters of the wizards of China combined. He can't imagine what the situation will be when the strength of the Phoenix Perch Tree is fully displayed. Not to mention him and Harry, even all the directors of Wizard China can't resist him. Challenge the Phoenix Resting Tree, for thousands of years, only one hand, and when they faced each other, it was 2. Lin Xiao didn't have any confidence in his heart, not at all. He looked at Harry and said, let's go back to rest first, maybe we can think about whether there is any other way. Director Hai, the administrator, and Li Ningning, just absorbed a little bit of the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree to increase their combat effectiveness several times. At this time, Lin Xiao and Harry didn't have the excitement that should be expected of the director of the China Wizard. Instead, their spirits were extremely tense, and the trial a few days later. Of course, they would not simply think that the Phoenix Resting Tree, which only uses the power of spells without using the system space, is easy to deal with. The China Wizarding Institute absolutely does not allow people who do not belong to the China Wizarding Institute to witness the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree. Li Ningning looked at them and said. Let alone an hour, whether he and Harry could withstand an attack from the Phoenix Resting Tree was a big question. He had a hunch that as soon as the Phoenix Resting Tree made a move, they would be dissipated. The administrator and Director Lin, who came to hear the voice, looked expectant. They are well aware of the horrors of the Phoenix Resting Tree, but they all know that only after such trials will these two people truly be reborn. Their trial at the China Wizarding Institute was considered a complete success. The tentacle monster's perverted repairing ability quickly came into play. Not only did his strength recover quickly, but Harry's toxin was quickly dissipated by him. Li Ningning and the tentacle monster are in the same line. When the tentacle monster's toxins are dissolved, the toxins in Li Ningning's body have disappeared. Li Ningning looked at them, smiled slightly, and said, next, you have to face the most difficult test in the 9 exams, the Phoenix Resting Tree. You must insist on 3 zeros under the attack of the Phoenix Resting Tree. Our. Lin Xiao and Harry looked at each other and both saw doubts in each other's eyes. They didn't know how to understand this, what it meant, the power they didn't understand. Harry looked a little dazed and a little decadent. Although they knew it for a long time, when they heard Li Ningning say this sentence, Lin Xiao and Harry still felt that their minds were turned upside down. It seemed that countless explosions sounded in their minds. Speak. After listening to Li Ningning and the administrator, Lin Xiao and Harry could only nod their heads. Indeed, they do not have any retreat now. If it is the Phoenix Perching Tree in its heyday, they are 100% without any chance. But now, it only lasts for an hour, and the Phoenix Resting Tree cannot but plan to use the system, and it cannot increase, and can only use spells. Under such restrictions, they may not have no resistance to confrontation. Only one thing is certain, that is, this time, they feel that it is impossible to prepare only one plan as before, and only the more the better, the chance of them passing the trial may be greater. After Lin Xiao and Harry returned to the dormitory, they each went back to their rooms without saying a word. Neither of them disturbed each other. The battle 2 days later was the end of the trial for them, whether they could pass the trial, leave the China Wizard and return to Hogwarts, this time in one fell swoop. Once it fails, according to the rules of the Chinese wizards, the result will be. Harry frowned and said, but if we can't pass the trial of the Phoenix Tree, we'll stay here forever. Then what's the use of the trials we've experienced before? Lin Xiao, don't forget, we still going back to Hogwarts, Dumbledore is still waiting for us, and Voldemort isn't dead yet. 39. Lin Xiao pondered over and over again, and then thought about his and Harry's strengths. Phoenix CC's strengths were unknown to them. Therefore, all Lin Xiao could think of was how to use the strengths of both of him and Harry. To the extreme, to achieve the best state. Ying has no chance of winning, they have to pass the test 07 training and persist for an hour. After a night of rest, Lin Xiao and Harry were both sitting on the sofa in the living room, and they needed to discuss tactics. How they survived an hour, how they fought against the phoenix perch tree in this hour. After a night, he still didn't have much confidence. An hour is not long, but it is definitely not short, especially for a top-level existence like the phoenix perching tree. An hour is enough for him to do a lot of things to them. Lin Xiao sat in front of the window, looking out the window, seriously thinking about every word Li Ningning said before, especially her sentence, "Phoenix perching tree will not use power they don't know." Lin Xiao never understood this. What does the sentence mean? Moreover, in the final analysis, this trial is also a test, and there is no need to involve people. I know, but we can exploit the loopholes in the rules within the scope of the rules, but we must never violate the rules. This is the bottom line, Harry. Lin Xiao looked at Harry and said, "We must first think about ourselves. Under what circumstances can the phoenix perch tree not attack us?" The phoenix perch tree looked at him and said indifferently, "Well, those who have nothing to do with the trial leave here, we will start immediately." As he spoke, Li Ningning flew away from their sight. Although the last trial has not yet begun, the pressure shrouded in the hearts of the two is greater than that of any previous trial. Faced with this situation, both Lin Xiao and Harry's brains were running non-stop. No, Lin Xiao immediately rejected his proposal. Although this trial mission is difficult, we can't make fun of their future. The two of us are testers, so the phoenix perching tree will abide by the trial for us. Rules, but others are not, and if the phoenix resting tree is not kept, it will kill them. The phoenix perching tree glanced at Li Ningning. Li Ningning nodded. 343 did not know where to take out a watch. After the bell rings, the timer starts, and the time is up in an hour, whichever is the bell. Li Ningning led them to the open space where they came to the China Wizarding Institute, and everything was still so familiar. The various things they had when they came to the China Wizarding Institute flashed frame by frame in front of the two people's eyes. The phoenix perch tree was stunned for the first time, but in the blink of an eye, he understood their plan. The content of this trial was to persist under the phoenix resting tree for an hour, but there was no mention of the need to persist under the attack of the phoenix tree from the beginning to the end. Therefore, Lin Xiao and Harry's plan, at first, was to delay time. A white figure descended from the sky, no one knew how it appeared, and the phoenix resting tree had already landed in front of them. Unlike the last time we met, his face at this time was a little less smiling and kind, and a little more serious. He looked at Lin Xiao and Harry with cold eyes. As soon as the voice fell, the bodies of the two people moved at the same time, and under the gaze of the phoenix perching tree, the two people flew into the air at the same time, and flew in different directions. The sight of the phoenix perching tree was on Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao stared at him and stepped forward. "We are ready." Looking at the timer in Li Ningning's hand, both of them became highly nervous. What Li Ningning said, and then said it from the mouth of the phoenix perching tree, Lin Xiao and Harry suddenly felt that the air was stagnant, and their hearts were heavy, making them feel like they were out of breath. Therefore, for them, the level of the phoenix resting tree is very important for both of them. Li Ningning said that they only have this chance and there is no room to retreat. Lin Xiao thought with some luck, since there is such an assessment, then he must pass the assessment method. As the bell rang, Lin Xiao shouted at Harry, "Go. Are you ready?" The fluttering words came from a distance, making the faces of the two of them become solemn. The two stood in a row and looked towards the phoenix perching tree in front of them. Look at this, although the trial said the two of us, it didn't say that other than the two of us, no one else could participate. I went to Director Lin, Li Guiren and the others, and asked them to join us in the fight against Phoenix Habitat. Tree, with a few more people, our strength will be stronger and our chances of winning will increase. Harry looked at Lin Xiao and said, "You have only one chance, and I will not show mercy. If you fail to complete the trial, I believe you all know what will happen. Only by ingenuity." Lin Xiao and Harry had already flown several hundred meters away from the phoenix tree before they could react, and their speed was getting faster and faster. Early the next morning, just after dawn, the two came to Li Ningning's office, and Li Ningning led them to see the phoenix perching tree. In Li Ningning's words, this is likely to be the last time she will lead them. Although Li Ningning didn't say anything, Lin Xiao and Harry still saw encouragement in his eyes. Harry nodded, then said, "Don't worry, I know. In this trial, the phoenix resting tree cannot use his system and the power of the land, and cannot increase it." Lin Xiao glanced at Harry and said to him, "Don't be too stressful, don't be impulsive, do everything according to what we said yesterday. Even if we fail, at least we tried our best. Lin Xiao and Harry flew out in different directions at the same time. Even if the Phoenix Resting Tree wanted to attack, they could only chase them one by one, which would have wasted time. No matter how strong the Phoenix Resting Tree was, there was no way to do it. The Phoenix Resting Tree wanted to get rid of both of them, and in the process of chasing the two, a part of the time passed. At the same time, they not only escaped separately, but also hid their aura, so that they could check the location of the Phoenix Tree at any time, and it could interfere with the Phoenix Tree's mental power and detect them. This interference is based on the mental power of Lin Xiao and Harry. Depends. Facing the Phoenix Perching Tree, the two of them did not dare to have any reservations, and while flying away, they both used incantations that interfered with the investigation when they approached in two directions in an irregular manner. Seeing such a situation, the Phoenix Resting Tree couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. He really did not expect that Lin Xiao and Harry would use such a method to deal with him. In his vision, according to the previous habits of the two, they would attack him as much as possible. Lin Xiao and Harry, it has been almost a month since the two came to the China Wizarding Institute. The Phoenix Tree has been observing them, especially Lin Xiao. He basically knows about Lin Xiao's character and abilities. Although, the previous two battles between Lin Xiao and Harry against Li Ningming, the administrator, made him feel incredible. In particular, the tacit understanding and wisdom displayed by the two of them in the battle are extremely wonderful. In the face of a master who is stronger than them, the ability to turn the tide powerfully is indeed a rare calculation-shaped wizard. It's just that he didn't expect that as soon as Lin Xiao came up today, he used such a tactic of breaking the hole into pieces. Although he looked like a deserter, he had to say that the effect was really good. Even the Phoenix Resting Tree couldn't help but sigh. The Phoenix Perching Tree raised its eyebrows and smiled faintly. Okay, I'll accompany you to have a good time. The yellow light lit up from the Phoenix Perching Tree, and the distraction spells released by Lin Xiao and Harry had no effect on him. No effect. In a flash, he flew into the air, not chasing anyone, but straight up, and in the blink of an eye, he had already risen to a height of several hundred meters. Lin Xiao didn't see the figure of the Phoenix Perch Tree, so he thought that the mental interference he and Harry used had worked. Just about to breathe a sigh of relief, Lin Xiao, who was flying fast, suddenly felt a strong pulling force behind him. The body that was moving forward suddenly stopped, as if her body was tied from behind. A rope pulled him back hard. A moment of nervousness flashed in his heart. Lin Xiao looked back subconsciously, just in time to see the Phoenix Perching Tree above them, and Harry who was pulled back. Seeing such a situation, Lin Xiao secretly thought in his heart. The Phoenix Perching Tree's way of dealing with Lin Xiao and Harry's dismemberment is very simple. Aren't you interfering with my spiritual power? Well, I will attack directly in the direction of the two of you. Although Lin Xiao and Harry are two people, the speed is already very fast, but for the Phoenix Perching Tree, this distance is not enough to make him powerless. What should I do? Lin Xiao's brain was running fast. Before he really faced the Phoenix Tree, no one could judge how strong he was. But as soon as he came up, he gave them such a blow. And what's even more terrifying is that Phoenix Habitat has not used his wand so far. That is to say, he just used his own strength to easily pull the two of them. Lin Xiao looked back at Harry. He knew that Harry must not fall into the hands of the Phoenix Perch Tree at this time. If Harry was trapped, their future plans would be completely impossible. In this way, with the strength of the Phoenix Perching Tree, defeating him is simply not too easy. Without confronting the pulling force on his body, Lin Xiao directly released the system, not flying forward, but upward. Produce a certain effect. Sure enough, as Lin Xiao got closer and closer to the Phoenix Perching Tree, the pressure of the system pressed on the Phoenix Perching Tree, his expression changed slightly. Lin Xiao could clearly feel the pulling force on him, and Harry loosened up a bit. Facing the Phoenix Resting Tree, Lin Xiao has achieved his full strength from the very beginning, or in other words, his own strength has been stimulated to the limit in the face of the huge pressure brought by the Phoenix Habitat book. Feeling the pressure, the hands of the Phoenix Perching Tree that were originally placed behind his back were raised in front of his chest, and a yellow light emanated from his chest, and then transformed into a sharp blade, heading towards Lin Xiao's direction. At this time, Lin Xiao's system and the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree collided silently. Although the system was severely damaged and had begun to crack, Harry clearly felt that his body had already pulled behind him. Disappeared in an instant. They had already planned it before. Harry didn't even take a look at the battlefield between Lin Xiao and the Phoenix Resting Tree, turned around and accelerated again, and quickly flew towards the west in the previous direction. Putting his hands on his chest, when the Phoenix Resting Tree and Lin Xiao's system collided, Lin Xiao's body trembled involuntarily, and the Phoenix Resting Tree's body also stepped back several steps, enough to see that this time the confrontation, how terrifying the actual strength is. Lin Zhao's face turned pale in an instant, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth and ears. Although he has systematic assistance, he is still much weaker than the Phoenix Tree in terms of spiritual power. Because of the effect of the system, both of them received the same shock, but at this time, the Phoenix Perching Tree and Lin Zhao's reactions were different. He just took a few steps back because of the pressure, and Lin Zhao was already vomiting blood. It looked like he was badly injured. Lin Zhao only felt that his eyes were blurred, and it took a while before returning to normal. At this time, Lin Zhao's brain became extraordinarily clear, and it was just this battle that he found the gap between him and the Phoenix Perching Tree. At this time, Lin Zhao only felt that he had a splitting headache, and Wang Ming said in his mind that although the system and the Phoenix Dagger Capital were helping him absorb these powers still caused him a lot of pain. During this period of time, it was absolutely impossible to use mental power to deal with the Phoenix Perching Tree. But at this time, the Phoenix Resting Tree had already returned to the battlefield and flew directly towards Lin Zhao. The Phoenix Perching Tree has already thought very clearly, to deal with Lin Zhao first and then to catch Harry. Facing the Phoenix Perching Tree, Lin Zhao's psychology was under tremendous pressure. He didn't know that the strength of the Phoenix Resting Tree was so powerful that even if he didn't use any spells or power, he was far from being the opponent of the Phoenix Resting Tree. Could it be that he failed like this? Seeing the unyielding spirit in Lin Zhao's eyes, the Phoenix Resting Tree couldn't help nodding secretly. As expected of the person they like, the strength can be improved through learning, but if there is no courage to face a powerful enemy, then no matter how talented and powerful this person is, it is impossible to become the future of the wizarding world. If it was someone else, facing this situation, they might have been discouraged and even lost the heart to resist, but Lin Zhao would not. These tests at the China Wizard Institute let him know that the stronger the pressure, the greater his rebound. Biting the tip of his tongue with his teeth, he used the pain to force his mental power to condense, and forcibly suppressed the pain in his mind for a while, and then rushed towards the Phoenix Tree. In the blink of an eye, Lin Zhao's body had disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he was already behind the Phoenix Perch Tree and attacked with a sword without hesitation. In this attack, he did not use any spells, not because of how strong his melee combat kung fu was, but because of the use of physical attacks, he could have the fastest response. Stagnant. Li Guiran was obviously stunned for a moment, then shook his head quickly. How could I? We all rely on the power of the phoenix, Abd, to perch on the tree, and in the face of the power of a god, we can't have any thoughts of attack at all, okay? I guess you should be the same as me. In our hearts, the Phoenix Perching Tree has long been a god, and it is in existence like belief. Immediately afterwards, Lin Zhao could clearly feel that under his fist, on the bark, there seemed to be an irresistible huge energy, which quickly concentrated, and took his body in a circle in the air, taking time to react. Without giving it to him, his whole person has been thrown into the air. It was the first time that Lin Zhao saw the face of the Phoenix Perching Tree so clearly. His face had wrinkles like bark, but it was hard to imagine that this body had existed for thousands of years. The Phoenix Perching Tree put his hand on Lin Zhao's chest. Lin Zhao's eyes flashed. When he was facing the Phoenix Perching Tree, he used the invisibility spell at the same time, but his mental power was not enough, and his whole body looked a little illusory. Director Lin said, "These two children really have a bright future. If he continues to practice, maybe he will really be challenged, and maybe the power of the Phoenix Perching Tree will also be." 35. When it reappeared, Lin Zhao's body seemed to fall from the sky uncontrollably, and with a bang, he dived directly into the sea. Lin Zhao, who only felt that his body was out of control, went into the sea and continued to descend. There was darkness in front of his eyes, but as he went further and further down, without the support of victory, the pressure around him became more and more intense. At this time, Lin Zhao only felt that his entire body was frozen, unable to move. The next second, the Phoenix Perching Tree had appeared in front of him. While the Phoenix Resting Tree attacked Lin Zhao, it also released the restraint on Lin Zhao's body. Taking advantage of the moment when the Phoenix Resting Tree did not respond, Lin Zhao immediately drew a circle with his right hand and let his body leave his hand. The two sides thanked the watch for not turning around. A layer of bark grew on the outermost layer of his skin, tightly wrapping his entire body. Lin Zhao's punch just hit the bark. However, thinking so in his heart does not mean that he has to show mercy to Lin Zhao. For the first time, he took out his wand. 343 wasn't actually a wand, it was just one of his branches, a yellow light, facing Lin Zhao, and rushed over. In this blow, apart from the initial heart pain, Lin Zhao was not injured after he escaped from the Phoenix Tree. At the same time, he also responded by letting his body hide and not appear again. At this moment, Lin Zhao finally understood why, for so many years, the China Wizarding Institute, with such powerful resources, never worried about being attacked. Indeed, in the face of the power of the Phoenix Tree, what is the use of even more wizards? You must know that the Phoenix Tree has created the entire Chinese wizarding house. Here, the Phoenix Tree and the gods are nothing too much. Big difference. Director Hai said, yes. Not to mention that Kid Lin Xiao is stronger than us, he even dared to take the initiative to attack the Phoenix Resting Tree. Have you noticed that just now, his power caused the Phoenix Resting Tree to retreat a little bit? That alone is already much better than us. They were talking below, and Lin Xiao's fist was already behind the Phoenix Resting Tree. Although it was just a simple physical attack, Lin Xiao could be said to have performed super level in the face of enormous pressure. When his fist was about to approach, his Phoenix Breath technique suddenly passed on to his hand, condensed and went straight to the back of the Phoenix perching tree. Director Lin looked at him with a sigh and said, I've never seen anyone who dared to attack the Phoenix Tree and take the initiative to attack. Li Guiren, do you dare? Lin Xiao never dared to imagine that the power of the Phoenix perching tree was already so terrifying. And from the beginning to the present, he has never revealed his true body, even so, he is already so terrifying. With his strength, in front of the Phoenix perching tree, there is no way to fight back. Suddenly, a dazzling yellow light radiated from Lin Xiao's body. Following the movement of the Phoenix resting tree, Lin Xiao could only feel his heart, as if someone was clenching and squeezing it, unable to bear it and it was about to explode. The same pain. And Lin Xiao obviously did not disappoint them. It seems that this ray of light did not even bring any power fluctuations. Lin Xiao was already unable to breathe at this time, the inertia of his body, before his brain could react, he reacted. Drawing a circle with his right hand, the figure that was constantly descending suddenly disappeared, and disappeared together with all his breath. At this time, outside the battlefield, there are really a few people standing, and they are all watching this battle at this time. Seeing the disappearing Lin Xiao, floating in midair, the Phoenix perching tree frowned. Before the trial started, she did not tell Lin Xiao and Harry that if they could not pass this trial, they would die. Because they already know so many secrets about the China Wizarding House, if they fail, he won't let them go. Lin Xiao stared at the trial grounds with burning eyes. After a moment of hesitation in his heart, he quickly made up his mind. Lin Xiao's eyes gradually became firm. At this time, he had only one way. The Phoenix resting tree's heart was startled, he instantly understood Lin Xiao's intention, his eyes flashed with approval again, looking at the countdown not far away, his figure flashed, and he had appeared at the trial site. Lin Xiao also thought of this, and decided to go ashore. While the Phoenix resting tree was hesitating, he could relax for a while. He didn't have to sense Harry's position, and he knew that Harry had already hid himself at this moment. A very safe location. Although now, the Phoenix resting tree has finally shown its strength, it is clear that Lin Xiao's plan has also been destroyed. At this moment, his situation has become particularly passive. On the ground, everyone looked at this scene, and several directors were shocked and speechless. It's been so many years, I haven't seen the Phoenix resting tree hurt anyone. Seeing his 4 or 2 movements of 1,000 genes produce such great lethality, the expressions of several people changed greatly. At this time, Lin Xiao's figure was already approaching the center of the trial site, which was the place with the largest crowd. Seeing the yellow light of the Phoenix resting tree, his heart burst with horror. Now against Lin Xiao, he doesn't seem to be able to do it easily, but Lin Xiao is already seriously injured. This is the true prototype of the Phoenix resting tree, the Phoenix resting tree. Because of Lin Xiao's plan, he had to show his true form. And the Phoenix resting tree's body did not have any changes because of the appearance of the original shape, he did not possess his own original shape. Lin Xiao looked at the many other wizards in the trial field who were seriously accepting the content of their trials, a yellow light had appeared behind him, Lin Xiao said lightly, sorry, at this time, I only have this way. The Phoenix resting tree stood in midair, frowning for the simple reason that he couldn't feel Lin Xiao's existence and didn't breathe at all, as if this person had disappeared. Lin Xiao put on an invisibility cloak and shuttled across the seabed, his movements were extremely light, trying not to cause fluctuations in the sea water. Several directors looked at each other, and they all retracted the idea that when Lin Xiao and Harry first started confrontation, they felt that together they could fight against the Phoenix resting tree. Lin Xiao hid at the bottom of the sea, completely hiding his breath, and even blocked his brain's exploration. In this way, although the location of the Phoenix resting tree cannot be detected, it is also possible to avoid the opportunity for the Phoenix resting tree to investigate him. When they saw him, they spread out, leaving a large open space for him. In this battle, neither he nor Harry could be out first. Once one of them was out first, the other couldn't hold out for a minute under the Phoenix resting tree. Lin Xiao was in the tester's place, walking quickly, many people saw her in a state of embarrassment along the way, they just thought he was in the test and didn't care. Once he leaves the shore, he will be attacked by the Phoenix Resting Tree in an instant. Although he couldn't sense the power of the Phoenix Resting Tree, he could also feel that the Phoenix Resting Tree knew that he had landed. Obviously, he had some way to sense his existence. At this moment, a strong pressure emanated from the Phoenix Resting Tree. Most of the testers present had not been tested by the pressure field, let alone the pressure field at the bottom of the sea. They could not stand the Phoenix at all. With such a powerful pressure from the resting tree, for a time, most of the people fell to the ground in pain, gasping for breath. According to the time, only 10 minutes have passed now, and there are still 50 minutes. In these 50 minutes, every second. It's been ordeal for him and Harry. 0. Flowers. While thinking about it, Lin Xiao quickly walked towards the place where the testers were tested by the wizards of China. He didn't dare to fly, and he didn't dare to use spells. He knew that when he went ashore, he would drag all the testers into the water. Must have violated the taboo of the Phoenix Resting Tree. In his current state, once he was hit by the yellow light, he would be discovered immediately. If he left the field at this moment and flew into the air, the Phoenix Resting Tree would immediately give him a fatal blow without hesitation. With his current physical condition, he would not be able to run even if he wanted to. The Phoenix Resting Tree was in the air, and he could vaguely feel the faint presence of Lin Zhao's breath, but he felt that Lin Zhao's position was constantly moving, and there were no rules for this movement. Just when the Phoenix Resting Tree wanted to attack the sea, he felt that Lin Zhao's breath was no longer in the sea, but had already reached the land. This time, the Phoenix Resting Tree frowned again. However, Lin Xiao, who was lurking at the bottom of the sea, didn't have that feeling, or she was not in the mood to think about it now. The only thing he thought about was how to survive in front of the terrifying power of the Phoenix Resting Tree. The Phoenix Resting Tree took out his wand, and behind him, a huge book grew rapidly, spreading to every corner of the venue in a blink of an eye. For a moment, he also felt Lin Zhao's breath in both directions. Therefore, the Phoenix Resting Tree will not show mercy to his men. Harry always chose to flee, leaving Lin Xiao alone to fight here. In fact, it was extremely unfavorable for both Lin Xiao and Harry. Both Lin Xiao and Harry took the 9 tests. From this point of view, the Phoenix Resting Tree was going to kill them all. The Phoenix Resting Tree waved its hands up and down, and behind him, a yellow light suddenly emitted from the Phoenix Resting Tree, with the tree as the center, spreading in all directions. When encountering other people and plants, it will automatically stop, but the yellow light soon spreads to every corner of the venue. If he is in the sea, he can attack unscrupulously, but if Lin Xiao is on land, especially when he is in the trial site of the testers, he cannot attack. If the tester is injured, then the problem will be big. The Phoenix Resting Tree suddenly appeared, and the testers were all startled. Although they didn't know this person, they could feel that this person was very strong from his aura. After a while, Lin Xiao arrived at the place where the crowd gathered most. Until now, they haven't seen the Phoenix Resting Tree use any spells, just simply using mental power has already caused the current destructive power. Phoenix Resting Tree wants to find him, it is by no means easy, and what he has to do now is to let himself survive in this hour, no, to be exact, in the remaining 45 minutes.